It is Sunday. It is exactly 12 noon.
You're listening to Russ Kane on.
Do you know...
He had one job. He had
you know
one
what
job.
it is? I was desperate today. I stood in Covent Garden and said, do you know anything about radio? Some bloke with, like, mad hair said, yeah, I know a bit. I said, right, you got the job. Phil Dave, with fingers like bananas, is running the controls today.
I do beg your pardon. This is what happens when James Blake takes a week off from sorry.
James Blake. I don't remember him. Do you remember James? I don't remember James. Who is he?
23-year-old producer.
Oh, the 23-year-old producer who's already exhausted.
Well,
Exhausted. He can't even take the pace. What the hell?
you see what you do to people.
What? I burn them out.
Working people hard, though, is no bad thing. And
Thank you.
I might well point out that age
Beauty
is just,
and brains. There you go. I
age
can
is
say
just
that.
a
Me
number.
too. Me too. What? Time's up. Just keep yourself to yourself.
Keep your opinions to yourself.
No,
Okay.
your opinions are very welcome, but that's as far as it goes. Think of this as a glass wall between you and I.
Friendly thought.
It'll just be safer for everybody concerned. Right. So before we crack on with our first guest, welcome everybody to Men's Radio Station. This is week 5 or week 6? What is this, Phil?
I have a feeling it's week 6.
I think this is week 6. I can't believe it. I don't think we'd make it through week 1. But here we are, week 6, and the reaction, not just here, but in California, in Australia, in France, has just been terrific. In London, but everywhere else. No, it's been really, really good and very, very exciting. So thank you so much for your support. We are on Facebook Live now, so not only do you have the joy of hearing us, but you can see us. Probably better if you just hear us, apart from, some of the guests. Me, I could just wear like a duvet over my head and that'll be absolutely fine. Thank you so much. And also, do feel free, of course. Phil, press the button that says phone number jingle.
Oh, okay. Well, give me 2 seconds.
Oh, for God's sake. 0203. No, forget it. I've moved on. 0203 290 4411. It's 0203 290 4411. Wonderful jingles made by the great music man himself, Mr. David Mindel, in France. Oh, yeah. That's why they don't translate. They're all in French. No one knows what the hell the jingles say. Again, David, he had one job to do. My first guest here on... Have you found the jingle?
Yes, would you like it?
I'd love you to play it. We went to the trouble of having it made.
I was going to say,
What's the matter with you?
Would you like it spoken or sung?
Just press a button.
0203 290 4411.
How catchy is that?
Wow, that is
Lara,
quite something.
Is that like
I'm
great?
almost lost
What?
for words by
Try not to be,
by
because
that.
it's radio, which would suck. It would suck if you said, I've got nothing to say.
It's almost so good that it's bad.
You'd never get this on
the truth.
W.
You wouldn't, but it's catchy, and that's what a jingle needs to be, right?
Well, so is chlamydia, and we don't want that either. Now, my first
You had to go there. You had to go there.
I did have to go there, you're damn right. Well, considering what you do...
Let's not connect those two. What a lovely link.
It is a lovely thing. You can get that on Radio 4, but thank gosh we're not. Lara Asprey, like in Asprey's, but obviously not the same.
It's the same name, yes.
But not the same company. I mean, you're not.
I'm not like a division of
No. It's
Asprey
just that
jewellery.
somebody's birthday's coming up, and if there was like a discount for
Do I-
friends,
can I
this
get
would be
you a
the time.
good-
Well, fine. If you can't ask when you're at work favours, what's the point of going to work? That's what I say. Now, Lara, you have a little black book, which they say you've got the most eligible singles in the UK. I don't mean records, by the way. You have a little black book full of the most eligible singles in the UK. Tell us all about yourself.
Okay, so I run a matchmaking agency called Asprey Introductions, which is basically a very high-end introduction agency. And
Do you have to speak like that?
I know. I don't know why I
You have to speak like my
gave-
cousin.
I don't know why I
I've
did
got
that
cousins who
accent.
speak like that.
What?
Ha ha!
Yeah, I shouldn't ever try
No, I
to
do, Phil. I do. I know. They're not all common like me.
around.
I got the
cousins
posh.
that are pigeons or something? What?
No, they're just posh. They're very nice. They're
It's just-
extremely
it's just
nice.
well-spoken, isn't
They're
it?
well-spoken
Yeah.
people.
I much prefer that
Yeah,
expression.
I
Well-spoken.
don't like
It's
the
not
word posh, no.
Posh is appalling.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't turn around and say someone's common.
Oh no,
That's
Phil.
true.
Phil, we would.
Well, I would, but...
You would. How many times have we
Not
walked
to
down
their
the
face, Phil. Okay.
You.
No, I might.
Oh, all of a sudden, Phil's got manners. This is unbelievable. Like he's never said, "Oh my God,
Who are
common."
you?
Who is that person?
What's
A number of
happened
times
to
he
me?
said that at the BBC. Who was that person who's going down the corridor? Good God! Right. Can we come back
But
to
anyway,
Lara,
it's a
please?
matchmaking service,
Yeah,
and we
right.
basically match up very eligible people.
All right.
So I've got wonderful clients, and I match those wonderful clients to incredibly eligible people, and hope that sparks fly. It's great fun.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it since 2014. So
And how's it going?
it's going really well. We have grown quite a lot over the last few years. You know, we've grown internationally. We've had a TV show on W this year. We're doing lots of fun events.
Tell me how a fun event. You know, my idea of hell.
Yeah.
My idea of hell would be going to come to a fun event where you could meet another single person. I'm not single, but you could meet.
Well, let's be honest.
I'm talking theoretically here.
Nobody likes organised fun.
No, we don't.
No one likes to come and say, you should come and have fun. It'll be fun. Because it makes it sound like it's just not fun. You know, that's not really...
It just sounds awful.
Yeah, it's like team building or something really awful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gracious, what an American.
Yeah, I mean,
team building, hey.
leadership.
Hey, let's have a break. Hey, let's have a plenary session and then a breakout session.
Yeah.
I used to
Blue
write
sky
all those.
thinking. You know, we don't
let's
want
just
that.
start, with the tabula rasa and just see where it goes.
But these events we don't do them very often, but what we do is we just kind of feel like what's happening online is that there's people who are just hiding behind clicking and they're not getting out there anymore. It's really sad. Our human race is sort of morphing into this weird, I don't know, we're just kind of developing no social skills. And I think it's important that we kind of have to push ourselves a little bit to get out of our apps. And
Now, I got a question for you. Are you Lady Lara, or is that just a joke?
No,
You're not.
I'm not a lady, and it was kind of it was a nickname.
Things looking up.
It was a nickname.
Me too. It was
but
a
we don't-
nickname. Why were you Lady? Why were you
it was
called
just a
Lady
fun
Lara?
name at school. I was
Oh,
given.
at school.
Yeah, but then I kind of stuck it for a few years, and now no longer do I get referred to as lady, which is absolutely
No,
fine.
I didn't
Suits
know
me.
because you could be. I
thank
don't
you,
know.
Danny.
You could live in you could live in Belgravia, and
Oh, well,
that
you
could
know,
be.
So
that
could you. You know,
No, trust me, I
don't-
really couldn't live in Belgravia.
a bit too dull for you, is it?
Well, it's a little bit too upmarket for me, I suspect. Now, this is something which we have talked about for some time, and it's this. Our young producer is just 23, who's away at the moment at the home for the terminally bewildered, and he says to me, I can't go in a bar
Yeah.
and just walk up. And we've discussed this before on the show. I can't go in a bar and just walk up to somebody. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? If you're in the bar having a drink, you could go up to somebody and say, hello, I'm James, blah, blah, blah. Would you like a drink or something? Packet of pork scratchings, whatever it might be. And he says, no, everybody does this online. You can't go up and talk to somebody anymore. Is that what you're finding?
Well, it's a really interesting question. And actually, I think what's happening is very unusual. People think that it's all happening online, but the statistics actually show that 80% of people are still meeting offline. Because what's happening online is that people are going on there and spending hours, 30 and a half hours each online user is spending per week.
How much?
13 and a half hours. But you know what's really interesting is they're only actually going out on dates for an hour and a half. And 1/3 of those people never actually date anybody. They just go on there for the fun of the swipe. So it's really weird.
The fun of the swipe.
Yes, because I
think we need to delve a little deeper into the fun of the
it's
swipe.
kind of like
There's
they
nothing
go,
fun about repetitive strain injury, I can tell you.
And
they
you
just-
would know.
They pass the time. They pass the time on these apps, and it's a time.
What apps? What are you talking about?
Well, you know, Tinder and
Tinder.
Bumble and Hinge or whatever.
No,
whatever
you went
they're
through
on.
that. Tinder, I know. What's the other one? Bumble.
Bumble.
Isn't that a character from Transformers? I don't know.
Bumble's when the women
Bumble.
make the first move.
Hello.
But there's loads of
Okay,
apps. I mean,
bit modern.
they've got niche apps and they've got all sorts of apps. There's an
Niche
explosion
apps.
of apps. Yeah, you know.
What's that?
Grinder.
Oh, Grinder.
They've
Dennis,
got
do come to
Grindr.
the microphone
Yeah.
if you wish
Oh,
to
there's
speak.
Grinder for gay people.
That's Dennis, by the way.
Hi, Dennis. Yes, there's Grindr,
Dennis has just perked up.
exactly, which is massive. But truthfully, when it comes to chatting people up, you're right, because we are, as Brits, are exceptionally and especially bad at this.
We're rubbish.
And you know what's really interesting? It's a cultural thing in that we are unable to flirt. There's rules around flirting. It can only be after Thursday, between Thursday
What?
and Sunday.
So after Thursday?
Wait, hear me out. Between Thursday and Sunday after 8 o'clock, and only at a bar after you've had 3 drinks.
Hang on.
That's the rule. You have to be
10 past 12.
standing,
Where does
yeah.
that leave me?
You can't day flirt. You can't. Brits
Really?
are really
Is that so?
bad at flirting. Like,
Lara, trust me.
That's where you've been going wrong all these years, Ross.
Who wrote these rules?
are you a day flirt?
I am. Just life's very short, and although I am well spoken for, life's very short.
These aren't rules. This is just as a culture.
Are you allowed to smile at anybody anymore?
I think we should. That's what I'm saying. I think that Brits are just a little bit bad at it.
It's sad.
We don't kind of go on dates. We go for a drink. We can't use the word date.
Well, no, because there's a connotation with a date.
Well, what do you think of a date when someone
Expensive.
says, do you?
That's the first thing I think, and
that what
you
you
know,
think?
frankly, I only went on 3 blind dates in my entire life, and I've
What
been
episodes? As in, like with Cilla Black, or do you mean actually with?
Oh,
I went on there 3 times. That's how bad it was.
I'm fairly sure Kate Thornton only had to go on once. But anyway.
What's that?
I'm fairly sure Kate Thornton only had
It
to go
was
on once.
Amanda
it wasn't Kate
Holden.
Thornton, it was Amanda Holden, wasn't it? I
Amanda
beg your
Holden.
pardon.
That's how she started. Yeah.
Right.
So sorry, Kate Thornton. I mean Amanda Holden. I beg your
Kate
pardon.
Thornton's very nice. I met her at a charity event, and she was charming. And moving on. So anyway,
We digress.
we
A
don't
little.
digress. We don't digress. No, not allegedly. She was very charming. She was.
No, I
she
said
was,
a little.
A little
Do you need your
what?
headphones turned up?
Well, they don't work. It's like
Okay.
every headset I've ever put on in my life, apart from my own, don't work. Have you got both of them working,
Mine
Laura?
are perfect, yes.
Great. Well, they wouldn't. They wouldn't do. So, you see, if you're going on a date, it's like you're thinking, "Ooh, well, there could be romance. Is this the one? How's the evening going to end up?" I don't know, because I haven't dated in 800,000 years since Hitler was massing on the Polish border, I should imagine. But will you stop pulling a face? Why? Why are you pulling a face now? What have I? What's
Please,
the matter
please
now?
carry on. I beg your pardon.
I intend to.
So sorry.
So it's I'm just kind of shocked, 'cause I said to James, our young boy producer,
Yeah.
what the hell's the matter with you? Just walk up to someone and say hello. What is the worst
is-
that could happen?
Yeah,
They
you're
just
right.
say go away.
You're right. They should, but there's ways to do it. I mean, going up to firstly a group of girls is really hard, and often what women do is they go out with like
A
5.
pack. They go in
or
a pack.
6
They hunt
friends.
in packs.
They go out with friends.
I always
They-
got the ugly one as well.
Well, there's just a
Be
lot of them.
honest. Come on, you know
But
how
it's
it
hard
is.
for a guy to kind of penetrate that group, isn't it? They
Probably
can't
not the
kind
right
of...
phrase there, Lara, but I like the way you're thinking. No, it is not. I would never go. It is very difficult. It takes a lot of bottle to go up to a group.
does.
Because you don't want to chat to the whole group. You probably
And also,
thought,
you're going to get
well,
the
that-
sniggers, you're going to get the laughs when you go up to a group. So girls,
Yeah.
it helps if they don't go out with more than 3 friends, ever.
So
They
that's
want to meet
still a
someone.
pack of 4.
No more than 3, including the person.
3's okay.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
3 you got a kind of chance of coming out alive.
And then if you guys want to go and actually chat someone up, the best thing to do isn't to be like, oh, do you come here often? No,
Oh,
it's...
hang on,
do you
I'm
know what
making a
they-
note.
Do you know what
So
they
don't
really...
use that.
Don't do that.
Don't
But do you know
don't
what's a
do
really,
that.
really good thing to do? Because women, we love to give our opinions on
Everything. Everything
So you
in
should
the
go up to a
world.
group of girls and be like, oh my goodness, have you seen my friend's belt? What do you think? Is it good or is it bad? And then women will come out with their advice and go, well, like the shoes and the trousers, But then they'll feel empowered. They'll talk to you. But you just go and ask them a question. But don't be like, I'm chatting you up now. That's awkward.
Well, it is very awkward. But if you see someone who's very attractive, you've got to think of something that's, when I was single, which I'm not now, as I've been with my partner for 15 years.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you very
good.
much. Yes,
Wow.
indeed. No one's more surprised than she is, I can assure you. I'm constantly astonished about everything in life, including switching on a light and finding it brightens up the room.
Oh.
But, 'cause I'm a simple soul. But in the days when I was single, I always found that very beautiful women didn't have a boyfriend. And the reason was no one would actually have the nerve to go up. It never bothered me. I just went up to the most attractive woman in the room, and they'd say, "Well, no one's actually spoken to me," because everybody else was too scared. And I'm thinking,
Yeah, they
"What's
just
the
assume
matter
that
with
they've
you?"
kind of got that all the time.
Yeah,
They think
and
guys
they
must
don't,
approach
actually.
them all the time, which exactly they don't. But it also makes it quite intimidating for some guys because they think, ooh.
Well, it is intimidating, but my
Very.
dad had a great saying. Whenever things were right, I go, "Pop," and this. He said, "Rossi," he said to me, well, what are they going to do? Take you out in the street and shoot you? And I went, "No." He says, "Well, there you go."
Yeah.
That was it.
And actually, women really like guys who approach because
Do they?
Yes, because no
Do
one
they?
does it anymore. There's this conception that oh, girl, you're just turning me up again. I don't like it. Another one. It's not true in this country because nobody does it. The fact that you do will make you stand out just by doing it. It's like calling someone these days. Just by calling somebody on the phone.
Nobody phones. Why do I have to get a
Exactly.
text for every bloody conversation?
when
Every conversation's a text. Phone me up.
When it comes to dating, it's the same thing. Because actually, if any guy actually picks up the phone and does something with their voice instead of, WhatsApping.
Well, like Joe Pasquale.
Well, if they sound a bit like that might be tricky, but most people probably wouldn't. But that alone would make them head and shoulders above the other men. You
Lara,
know?
what do you think courtship means in 2019? Is it dead?
Oh, it's a tricky one. I don't think it's dead. I think that we've just got a bit lazy. We've got a bit lackadaisical about it, let's be honest. We kind of feel like a lot of entitlement and a lot of false sense of security. Yes, we do. Well, I'll tell you why. Because both women and men now are completely equal. They both go to work. They both have careers. They both have ambitions, and they feel that their partner should provide them with certain things, and they like that. They think, well, this person will provide me with strength, security, stability. They'll be my rock. They'll be my therapist. They'll be my lover. They'll be my friend. That's a lot of pressure on a relationship.
That's a busy schedule. I haven't got time for that.
But you know what? We used to get that from communities. We used to get that from our tribes.
That's it.
We used to get that from our, you know, we used to live in villages with people, and we get a sense of entitlement and security and comfort from them. We don't have that anymore. We're much more lonely now, but we're putting everything into our partners.
Well, you're saying you see, here's the dichotomy and the irony is that we are much lonelier than we've ever been. However, we are more connected than we've ever been. But it's all rubbish.
We're choosing connectivity over connection. That's what's happening.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we are, because we're going online, and what's happening is you're clicking on all these people like a takeaway menu, and you're getting a very, very false sense of security, because you don't get rejected behind a click. It's much easier to go click, 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 like, heart, 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 heart on 100 different people. Go, oh, that's fine. They don't actually know me. They will never actually meet me. Rejection's nothing. I don't really care. Meeting them out and doing that, all of a sudden it's like that rejection's raw. It's real. So it's very easy to choose that connectivity, but we don't have any connection.
It depends how you take, rejection. If you're going for a role and you really want that role in the theatre or something, that's pretty hard. But if you're going out with someone, it doesn't work out.
But you know what's also happening, Russ, is that people haven't got the time to meet 100 people out. Whereas online you can go and you can swipe 100 times.
What happens after you swipe then? I've never done it. I have no interest.
Well, a third of people don't do anything, as I said, but a third of people who actually do that.
I see a load of people. I go, oh, she's nice, yeah, and I go, terrific, thumbs up or whatever the phrase is. And then what? What am I supposed to do?
Well, this is what's hard about it, is you're supposed to have charming, witty, hysterical banter with that person, make them think you're really great and want to meet you.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it falls flat because people they ask the same things like, hi, where do you live? What do you do? Really boring questions about life.
Going into a coma just listening to this.
Exactly. It doesn't get you anywhere. It's so boring.
Ghastly.
So, that's
so
whole
are you single?
No, I'm married. I'm married with a baby.
Married?
Yeah.
Okay, next guest.
Yeah.
Sod that. What a waste of time. What the hell have I dragged in for a Sunday? I blame Phil.
Lovely to see you too.
And
Russ.
great.
Always
a pleasure.
So you're married with a baby?
Yeah.
The only reason I'm asking is I want to see if it was successful for you. It's like the chef. And I said, what have you made today? Well, a toast. That's all really? You're telling us to have this, and this for breakfast or something like that.
But hang on a sec. That's not strictly speaking true, though, because if you look at someone like Simon Cowell, who by his own admission can't sing, he's possibly single-handedly responsible for some of the biggest chart toppers in this country.
Sorry, can I just stop you there? Simon Cowell is responsible for some of the biggest crap that's ever been foisted on the British public. Ruining and single-handedly ruining the music industry in the UK and having good pop.
You really think, Russ?
I will say what I really
think. Splinters in you, as they say.
As a person, no, let me just be clear. As a person, I've met him many times. He's lovely. I've had dinner with him and lunch with him and I've been abroad with him. A lovely guy.
Yeah.
In business, I would never do business with him. But I admire what he's done, because if I'd have thought of it, I'd have done it myself.
Yeah.
I make no bones about it, but I hate what he's done.
Okay.
But I'm not a hypocrite. I would have done it myself.
I think you misunderstand sort of the point I'm getting at.
No, I get the point you're making. Yeah. Tennis coach wouldn't go out and win Wimbledon, but they could teach the person how to... Yeah, I get that.
Exactly. So when you say you're gauging whether or not if it's been successful for Lara or not...
But I can answer that confidently, because it has been successful. I mean, I met my husband before I even went into this business, and he wasn't a client. He wasn't like, I'll keep you to myself.
Says you.
You go to the separate pile.
You're the special one.
No one's seeing you, mister.
Yeah, exactly.
In all seriousness, though, were you match made, or how did you meet?
No, we met out. We met out organically. Rarely happens. And actually, he's Spanish. And he called me and he was pursuing me, and it was a different way of flirting. The Brits that I dated before were a bit sort of like, where do you want to go? You choose, and all this
But how
stuff.
you see, I've got one of the reasons that Howard Jameson and I set up Men's Radio Station is because we realized there was a need for it. And just one of the areas is everything you're talking about today. This is just one tiny area that prompted us to start this. Because men are very, very confused.
Yeah.
2019, we don't know what to do. I say this nearly every week. And I'm going to pose this question to you, Lara. When I use public transport all the time because it's damn quick and I can't be asked to drive, quite frankly. It just gets me from A to B. I won't look at anybody in the face because I think they're going to say, I don't like the way you look at me. Ooh, I'm going to get the authority. So I either shut my eyes, literally with my earphones on, listening to audiobooks, or I stare at my feet. That's it. What a stupid state to be in.
Yeah, well, presumably that's only when you're on public transport, not every single moment of your day.
Well, of course not. But when I'm on public transport, I don't want anyone to say. But
You're
that's how nervous men are now.
I think it's slightly different for you because you're not looking for a relationship. I agree with you that men are nervous.
You say that,
No,
Lara,
but I do. I think.
Okay.
I think it's true. If you were looking for someone, you would certainly keep your eyes open. Trust me. You wouldn't walk around. You wouldn't go around with your eyes closed because you would be missing opportunities in that sense.
Not on the Jubilee line. You wouldn't.
I mean, look, people don't talk on the trains or the tubes, do they? It's really like you just don't talk to each other. Very rarely does someone say anything.
Nobody has their face out of their phone.
No.
And what's extraordinary as well is if you go abroad, you will find that people abroad do tend to actually speak on public transport. I've noticed that several times wherever I go.
Yeah.
We have got a comment on Facebook.
Have we?
Yes. So, Dennis, are you monitoring such things? Are
Yeah,
you going to read out?
Dennis is in charge of all social media.
From Rona. She's asking, how will you know if your love is successful? I suppose she's asking, like, how you know if the match is successful, not a good match.
Oh, okay. So, well, these days success is very difficult to quantify because not everybody wants to get married. You know, they kind of, maybe they've been divorced and they don't want to do that again. Mm-hmm. So, to me, success is that you've made an introduction that people see each other more than 3 or 4 times because that's a good introduction, and that means that they kind of continue to see each other without me being involved.
Now, being shameless,
yes.
Let's get on to the nitty-gritty. How do people get hold of you?
Well, website's aspreyintroductions.com.
Slowly.
aspreyintroductions.com.
Okay.
I will also be at the dating show live this June.
Whoa, hang on a minute.
I know.
I see a date in my diary coming up. The dating show.
Well, the first time ever, 10,000 singles will be under one roof, and this has never happened ever in England or anywhere, I don't believe.
What the hell's
And the
going to go
NEC
on
in
there?
Birmingham are
You get
basically
samples like you do at the motor show.
Try this man.
Try this guy.
But they're going to have lots of talks from coaches. I'm going to be doing some hosting, some matchmaking, cupiding people up. It'd be great fun.
Cupiding people.
First dates will be there. You know, it's going to be lots of fun. So the NEC is going to be packed.
It's at the end.
Yeah.
In Birmingham.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gigantic.
That's how many single people there are out there who need help. You know.
Hang on, are they all Brummies?
No, they're not.
Oh, really fancy yo. I'm single. Oh, yo.
Quite good for us. That's quite good.
Good Lord. Anyway, don't worry, doctors are on the phone. They've got a part for you, Russ.
Thanks very much.
In all seriousness, Lara, what is the actual process of matchmaking? What do you do when a client comes to you and says, I am fed up of being single, I need your help? What do you do to help that client?
Well, you kind of have to get to know them quite well. So you meet them a few times, take them out for drinks, take them out for lunch.
Oh, you do all
schmooze them a
that?
little
It's
bit.
not done on paper?
Well, no, it's all offline. Well, okay, so we have 2 parts.
Right. In all seriousness, Phil's question's excellent, as ever. Walk us through it. So
Okay.
Phil, who is... What's the matter?
I've just seen a Facebook comment. I'm going to get Dennis to read out in a minute.
I'll let you answer that first.
I'll go for
on.
it. I do
Okay,
apologise.
you've got one question.
Go on,
here,
Dennis.
Rouse.
Go on, Dennis.
He says, I think I'm in love with Russ Kane. How can I get the date with him?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who?
Are you available to begin with?
No. It's very sweet of you.
Sorry, Larry.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I bet it's Larry. It's Larry. I bet you it's Larry. Larry, Suzanne is a beard for you, and everybody knows it.
Anyway,
right, moving
right.
on.
Poor
Anyway, the
Lara.
process.
So, yes,
So-
you take them out, you get to know your client.
Yes, so let's say, Phil, you want to have somebody special in your life. I would say, okay, Phil, let's go and talk about this. And we would go and sit down and we'd talk about what it is you're looking for, who you are, what you're interested in, get to know you. We kind of then, once we've formed a good opinion, we write up a bit of a document about you, kind of like a journalist writes up an article on that person. Like it talks about your observations and what you're into and what you're not into and what you're looking for. And we use that as a kind of base to kind of find prospects. So we then use...
Find or find?
Find
Okay,
prospects.
okay.
And then we've got this little black book that you referred to earlier as our kind of pool of prospects that we kind of match our clients to. And we would then send Phil pictures and details about those people and organise the entire date, tell you why they're good for you. And then at the end of the date, let's say you meet those people, that person, you can just call us and be like, oh God, no, and we'll handle it. Or if you want to see each other again, you can see each other again. But it just kind of takes that awkwardness out of the equation.
And what is the cost factor with this? Because people be listening now and watching on Facebook Live and going, ooh, that sounds for me, but then how much is it going to cost?
Well, it starts at £9,000.
I'm so sorry, I thought you said £9,000.
I did, yes. Yeah, for 6 months.
I'm all right, keep going. Wow.
Yes, and it goes up in price depending on what you want, but that's the base price for matchmaking. But you get the most incredible quality of
How
interaction.
great is your pool of people for £9,000?
It's really incredible. Yeah. But the thing is, you've got to think about it like this.
Blimey.
If you think about how much time people are spending wasted trying to find people, and actually we do all of that for them. We date everybody for our clients before they even go on a date with them to check
You date them
their...
as well?
Well, we do. Me and my team, we kind of meet them, we get them drinks, we talk about the client, we tell them why they're good for each other, and there's no wasted time. These people are all exactly what they're looking for. And sometimes they're not all exactly what they're looking for, but they're a wild card that we think, you're going to like them, because people don't always know what they're looking for. So it's our job to figure out what they would be suited to.
One of the things putting the eye-watering cost aside, I had no idea. I didn't know what you were going to say. I thought you could say 500. I don't know. It's not my area, right? But relationships, for me, are about chemistry. Mm-hmm. And somebody can say, you know, Russ, this person's perfect, and you could meet them. And if there's no chemistry, it doesn't matter. You can't define...
And you can't guarantee it, you're right. No,
but the thing is, Lara, you can't define what that chemistry is. They could be a beautiful woman, everything marvellous, and you think, just nothing. I don't feel anything. And if you don't feel anything, you never, unless you just say, well, I'm just going to go for this for the money or whatever it might, if you're going to be that brutal about it, or it suits me, or it's convenient, you're never going to feel anything.
Well, you're right. You can't guarantee it, and actually, it's part of it. We don't always get it right first time. You know, we have to kind of send them out on as many dates as we can sometimes before we get to that point of going, oh, the bliss point. You know,
The bliss point.
yeah, it's that combination of sweet and savoury that's just right. It just kind of hits the nerves. But that's kind of why we send them on these dates, because we work out what's
And where
good.
would you send them? Where would they go?
Well...
So I've just paid my $9,000. You've fitted me. I'm going to use Phil, because I don't know. Let's use Phil.
Let's use Phil.
Because...
I'm used to being used, what can I say?
Well, you're working for the BBC, aren't we all?
Human punching bag.
Aren't we all? Right, so, Phil comes to you. He's stumped up $9,000, which to Phil is nothing. It's his hair. It is his hair product budget for the month. $9,000. And...
I laugh because it's slightly true.
I know, we know. Go on. So what happens?
Well, okay, it depends. Sometimes the people actually want to choose somewhere that they want to go that's close to them. A lot of the time, these guys or women are very busy international travellers, and they're only stopping through London for a couple of days, and they're going to be very close to here, there, and the other. So we'll accommodate a meeting point
put me
near
off
them.
straight away, because if someone is that busy, how are they ever going to have time to develop?
Well, this is
a
kind of why we
relationship?
offer coaching as well, because you're right. A lot of the time, people have to make time, and they've used. You know what they do is they're so busy in everything else in their lives that they kind of think by throwing money at the problem they can sort out their love lives, and they don't necessarily put time into being charming and making time for people and being courteous. So, yeah, a lot of what we do is actually about making sure people are being wonderful people to each other.
I want to hear about this coaching in a minute, but we are going to take a brief break.
You're listening to Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of Stoughton Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. For the past 60 years, we've been providing the world's best Cuban cigars. When it comes to cigars, there's no other than Stoughton Cigars from Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Stouters would like to wish Men's Radio Station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being. Check them out. Men's radio station, where men really talk.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's radio station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Let me tell you about Jermyn Street Theatre. We are the smallest theatre in the West End, only 70 seats. We are a registered charity and not grant-aided, run by a small team of volunteers and trustees. Jermyn Street Theatre is a hidden gem. It combines the comfort and convenience of the West End with the intimacy of a studio. Every seat has a perfect view of the stage, and even a whisper is audible. Every seat is a premium seat. This is a secret theatre in the heart of the West End, once found, never forgotten.
You're listening to Russ Kane on Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of Stouters Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Stouters would like to wish Men's Radio Station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being.
Slick 50 Barbershop is a coach barbers based in West Leigh, Essex, specialising in retro haircuts behind and on. It's always been about the lifestyle. Music and fashion are a big part of Slick 50's style and an obvious inspiration in the workplace. It's become a community shop where you can purchase from a small selection of vintage apparel, t-shirts, CDs and Slick's own hair product, Tweed Sweet Pomade. If you would like to book a haircut, please call 01702 390 916 or visit barbershoprockabilly.co.uk or Slick 50 Barbershop on Instagram. Gracias.
You're listening to Russ Kane on Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Absolutely. And if you want to join in the conversation, please do. You don't all have to be like Larry, but you can just call us on 0203 290 4411. That is 0203 290 4411. How's the sandwich, Phil? It's good.
Sandwich was very delicious. Thank you very much. I almost got away with that. Thanks to you.
You did, but not under my watch. And Dennis is here in charge of all social media aspects. Dennis, did something come up that you wanted to discuss?
We've got two comments. Actually, we're going international. We've got viewers from the Philippines, and they say it's good that we're actually broadcasting live on Facebook.
Oh, good.
That's from Ruben in the Philippines.
Hello there in the Philippines.
And then Tricia, she says there are quite lots of females who are looking for the one, but don't wish to pay or cannot pay that amount of money. He agrees with Russ that there should be chemistry.
Oh, well, thank you. But it is a thing because, and I'm not knocking what you're doing because I totally understand, and no postmodern irony intended, that people do need this. They lead busy lives. They are not going to be in places, if they're living in boardrooms and aeroplanes, you know, it's very hard to meet someone who would be suitable. So I get that. Yeah. And if you're at a certain level, I hate to say this, if you're at a certain level, at that sort of executive level, and I hate the word executive as well, $9,000 would be a good investment. That I totally understand. But for punters like myself and Phil and Dennis or whatever, it's like it is about the chemistry because it all can look marvellous on paper. Yeah, and you're right. It can. And I think a lot of the time we've got quite conditioned these days to looking at paper because we look at apps and we're looking at people like they are a takeaway menu, looking at the ingredients and what's in the food. Oh, they've got this, that, and the other. How exciting! But you know, there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee, but that's all we do. That's the only job for me and my team is to suss out what it is that our clients want for them. And over the years we've been doing it. What is it that they want? You know, there's a whole load of things. I mean, some people might just want sex. Some people just want, which must probably for $9,000, knock yourself out. You know, I can think of other ways of investing that.
I think you will do for 9,000.
Well, for 9,000. It's nearly a week.
But we should actually, do you know, if anyone who's just tuned in, though, Lord. I think for anyone who has just tuned in, though, it is only fair to actually explain once again, Laura, that it's not £9,000 per date. It is actually a subscription, isn't it?
It's 6 months, and the reason I don't do any longer is because I don't believe it should take that long. Some people offer a year's membership. I don't think it should take a year. If you want to meet someone, you want to meet someone today or within 6 months.
And also, just to be clear as well, you're talking about trying to find someone a life partner.
Yes.
So with any luck, they don't ever have to do this once anyway.
Exactly. That's the thing. Once they find that person, they're away. That's it. And it's an unlimited amount of people that they can meet before they get to that person. We don't say, oh, you only get 2 introductions for the night there. You can meet as many times as we can physically set you up. And we will try. But realistically, what happens is they never go for the first date, regardless of how perfect they are, because it's almost like, well, let's see what else you've got.
You've always got to see what's coming around the next bend. That's how I live my life.
And
this is good, but what's around the next corner?
It is that sense. Well, I've paid 9. I've just started. I don't really want to just settle for the first person, even if they're. So what we actually do is we hold back the best person that we've got.
Plus, I don't want to interrupt, Laura, but it's $9,000 plus going to Greg's and buying 2 sausage rolls.
Yeah, that's expensive.
That doesn't come cheap.
Yeah, right.
I'm not really cut out for this dating thing, am I? I can just see that it wouldn't work.
What are you doing for your wife for Valentine's Day?
Well, she's my partner, but she's been my partner for a long time. Nothing for Valentine's Day. And before you get...
No.
Because her birthday is 2 days later.
Ah, I see.
And for her birthday, a very nice birthday is planned.
So you keep the romance alive.
Well, let's not go crazy.
The explanation that is given is a rather splendid way of saying I'm not paying for 2 dinners.
We combine it every year.
No, do you know, I hate... The point is, if you're with somebody, you don't need blooming Valentine's.
I agree.
I think Valentine's Day is pathetic.
I agree.
Think it's absolutely
I'm a matchmaker,
pathetic.
and I agree with you. I don't think that we should feel in any way, shape, or form pressured into buying a rose just for the sake of it. I just think
rubbish.
And if anything,
and you can't always find a petrol station.
Oh God, seriously.
I mean,
Stop it.
Not where I am.
Oh, but we should. I do think we should. If anything, what it does is it makes us think about romance at least one day of the year. For most people, don't think about it at all. So, but I don't think we should feel like we should sit in a restaurant with other couples and the red rose in the middle and
it's
be like,
embarrassing garbage. We went out on I had like a really lovely evening yesterday. It was terrific. We had a great time Saturday night, and it was lovely. It's kind of like a date. It works for me. It's fine to make something special. But we're both very busy. We've both got lots of stuff to do.
Yeah, it should just be called spending some time with each other day, because that's what I kind of think Valentine's Day is. It's just dedicating a bit of time to maybe even just having dinner at home. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to buy a grand gesture. It's all about
But the grand
time.
gestures are just embarrassing nonsense to cover up the fact you've been pretty crap for the rest of the year, I always think.
I mean, I was talking about this actually the other day, because a lot of the time, people who are the younger generation, for example, they like to Instagram everything. They like to go to the best restaurant and just take pictures of their food to show that they've been there. And it's almost the same. I know, but they do.
I know.
But it's almost like it's a sense of boasting, isn't it? To say, oh, well, I went here. And actually, I think Valentine's Day is also that. With that generation, they like to have a picture of them going to the Shard or going somewhere or being spoilt by their so-and-so with flowers. Look how much he loves me. It's almost become an opportunity to boast about yourself than it has about the person that you're with.
That's social media.
I was going to say, isn't that more social media than the actual day itself, though?
It is, but I just think that we've become conditioned to feeling an importance of sharing our days on social media when we should be sharing that moment with the person that we're with.
Exactly. No, but that's exactly it. It's through social media we've become conditioned to think along those lines. So what I'm saying is it fair to really blame Valentine's Day per se for showing off?
No. It's not specific to Valentine's. Let's be honest. It's all the time. I just think in moments or days like Valentine's Day, it's exacerbated. It's like, here we go again.
Dennis.
Talking about social media, we just got another comment from Facebook from Alexandra. She says, "Russ, you are definitely my hero." This
Will
is
you
a
stop
very
paying people to write messages?
It's costing me a fortune. That's why I can't afford the $9,000 to join up with you.
This is a very interesting topic for me as a 55-year-old, currently single woman. I find that men are simply scared to meet and hide behind text, fear of rejection, like what you mentioned earlier. I think your show is brilliant. Love listening off for Sunday lunch now with the kids. Loving this. Thank you for tuning in, Alexandra.
Oh, well, bless you.
That's nice.
Thanks a lot, Alexandra. I appreciate that. It is a huge subject, and people, they shy away from it because the one thing I loathe about social media, but used to my advantage, because people say, "Oh, Russ, you share your life," and I go, how thick are you? I share the version of my life. It's not my real life. I don't show you me, buying Dettol in Tesco's in the aisle. Who wants to see that? You get a little funny potted version of what is a version of me. It's not the real me, and I never pretend that it is. I'd never share anything intimate on social media.
Well, it's almost Truman Show-esque, isn't it? You're playing up to your audience.
That's how I have a sellout show in a week's time at the German Street Theatre, because all through social media, and my nonsense is on that and the sort of thing. And the same thing in Los Angeles. It's a version. I don't want to sit there going, oh, my life's terrible, all of that sort of stuff. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. So you've married a matador.
I did, from the south of Spain. He's not actually matador, but he could have been.
He could, because he's from. It's like Ava Gardner. You could be like Ava Gardner for 2019.
I did something similar. I nearly married a doormat, but anyway.
A doormat?
I'm joking, matador.
Doormat. I see what he did there.
Do you know what? When you have to explain a joke, I do carry on.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Something going through the studio. Tumbleweed. The hell did that get into Covent Garden?
Pardon me for trying to make your Sunday a little brighter. I apologize.
I quite enjoyed your joke once I understood it. Thank you.
Yeah,
No, he could have been.
Please continue.
You can tell that I have known Mr. Phil Dave a number of years. How we tolerate each other, God only knows. No, anyway, so right.
He could have been a matador, because he's from the south, where they are incredibly Spanish in that sense. So, they have those guys walk on horseback and feria, which is
we call those policemen over here.
Yes, exactly. But they're dressed in the kit like Antonio Banderas. Like that whole.
What?
Like Antonio Banderas when he's on a horse. He looks like that.
Right, I washed this morning.
So, but he's lovely, and
you met where? Well, he pursued you. Can't imagine why. Everybody.
We met in a bar, and it's weird because actually I was on my way out, which is often when people meet. Ironically, I was not staying there for long. It was too packed, and my friends were like, "Let's go outside and wait."
Was this in London?
It was in London. It was Fulham, and
of course.
Yeah, I know it's a bit of a cliche. But to be honest with you, I would never actually really have. I would never have thought I would met somebody at a bar, but I did. And but it was weird because I was leaving. I was waiting for my taxi, and his friend was there. And his friend, I didn't know he was his friend, chatted me up. I gave him my number because I was being a yes person at the time. No, I know. I was being a yes person, and I was saying yes to everything.
Things looking up.
I was going to say, Laura had a bumble moment there.
Wow.
But then he messaged me a month later. My now husband.
Your number to a total stranger waiting for a cab.
I know, but we had mutual friends.
It wasn't completely names for women like you back in the day, you hussy.
We had mutual friends. There was a connection. Anyway, I heard from my husband a month later because he managed to get my number off this friend.
He's not stupid.
Well, I didn't even know they knew each other.
Can they? Oh, right.
But I was being a yes person, which actually, by the way...
What is a yes?
Yeah, I said to myself, dodgy. It does a bit. I mean, the idea is that you say yes to everything for a month. And so
Is it this month by any way? He said hopefully. Is it this month? Is that a yes month? You can come back when it is. If today's, today falls in a no month, come back next month.
You've got to keep your standards. But the idea really is that if someone offers you like a dinner party or drinks or something that you normally be like, oh, just got people that want to stay in and like watch Netflix and chill. Most of the time
Why do you ever say it like that? I can't think of anything better than staying at home and watching Netflix.
No, it's okay. But sometimes you turn down good opportunities because you can't be bothered to do so. So anyway, that's because you're not looking for someone.
No, because I lead a ridiculous life and I'm exhausted. I just don't want to go out.
But people have to be open to meeting people if they're looking for
people. Fair enough.
So that's the idea. We have to say yes to stuff a bit more. We can't be so like waiting for stuff to happen to us. We have to go out there.
You've got to be proactive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's how I live my life. You've got to be proactive.
Yeah, you do. It's true.
How do you measure success?
In my matches?
The industry, yes, in your matches. As in, is it someone who gets married? Is it someone who goes on a few dates? What is it?
Because people don't always want to get married these days. It's kind of like, I don't really think it's a metric. And often people will go steady, they'll live together.
You don't think it's what?
It's a metric of success. It's not like you can use it and say, yeah, well, that's it. But we have had lots of engagements. We have lots of marriages. We've had lots of people living together. But I would say success for me is if they date more than 3 or 4 times. Because that, to me, means that we aren't responsible for those introductions. And truthfully, I don't always know what happens.
What you mean is you're not responsible if it didn't work out after that number of dates.
No.
Is that what you mean?
Well, I'm not. actually.
No, but I know you're not, because you're not waving a magic wand. You know, it's
And
not
it's
Walt
like an
Disney, it's
estate
real world.
agent. You know, when someone shows you around a house, they don't always stay around the house when you're living in it. So, you know, they sell you the house.
Hopefully not of any estate agent
But that's-
I've ever met.
That's exactly.
Ever.
I don't want to compare myself to one,
Oh,
but
thank
that's
God.
kind
Especially
of.
as I'd hoped you wouldn't introduce someone and say she's a bit of a fixer-upper.
Yeah. Hey, she's not bad.
got
You can knock-
potential.
It's not bad.
You are an estate agent, don't lie.
Good thing about her, she's near the station.
Yes. Oh, yes. See what you did there.
I could write an entire
I'm just
sketch
curious
on
though,
this.
Lara, have you got any like most memorable matching, or are you allowed to share that?
What do you mean, like in terms of my clients' dates?
Yeah, like you're so proud that you made a match, like anything
Well,
that stands out.
just last week, actually, a couple of people who came to one of my events posted on Facebook that they are getting married. They were engaged.
Excuse me, hang, what? They came last week and they're getting married now?
No, they posted on Facebook last week. They came to one of my events in August, and
Still,
then
that's quite a quick turnaround.
very quick turnaround. They met, sparks flew, and I knew they were seeing each other, but I didn't realize quite how serious it had got until they posted on Facebook, and I was like, huh, well, look at that. That's what happened.
How
It's great.
London-centric is what you do, Lara? Or is it
Well,
worldwide?
it started very London centric, and now it's become very global because people travel work wise. They're always in New York, they're in Dubai, they stop off here, and often we can put introductions wherever they might be. So we've got people all over the shop who can meet those people flying in and out of France or Ireland, or you know, it's good.
And is there ever anyone you've had to turn away for whatever reason?
Do you know what?
I don't
Were you on it?
absolutely.
Were you on it?
Yeah,
I,
going
to be
there.
honest with you, I turn down more people than you might imagine. The reason being, because if I don't feel I can help you, and I'm looking at you in the eye and I think you've got the wrong ideas of what I can provide you with, then there's no way.
What would that mean?
Well, let me just be frank for a
Well, no,
moment.
be frank.
Yeah.
Am I going to, you know, if someone comes along and just thinks they're going to get endless sex for $9 grand?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Or they want to
just
meet.
say that here, sorry.
Yeah, but they just want to kind of have young women on their arm, and I don't think they've got the right intentions.
Oh.
You know, that's. But the thing is, we're about relationships. I don't want to be like a madam. I don't want any sort of association to become running like a brothel. That's not what I do at all. It's very difficult.
But you know what? Sometimes you need revenue streams coming in, and diversification's never a bad thing. You can have a diversification line.
I think
I mean,
there's an
you know,
ethical.
think of Dunhill. You know,
Yeah.
they kicked off with like cigarettes, and now they got clothing and belts and a
This is
club,
true.
You know,
Maybe I'm missing a trick, Russ.
well,
you know.
a trick. Another good phrase. Yes.
But no, truthfully, actually, a lot of the time as well, women are really fussy. For example, women, when they get older, they can be really, really fussy. And they can kind of...
No, can I? I'm going to argue.
Okay.
I'm going to argue. And Alexandra Dennis just read out her post to us.
Yeah.
And she says she's 55, etc., etc. I don't know if it's for you. You say women get very fussy, and I would apply the same to guys. Is you get very used to how you want your life organized.
Yeah.
And the thought of rearranging your life is one that doesn't come well, because if you're a 55-year-old woman, 45-year-old woman, it doesn't really matter, or guy to that extent, you've got your life kind of pretty much how you like it.
Yeah. You're right. And it's not about... It's. I should probably rephrase it. It's not that they get fussy. It's more that they just kind of have lists of things that they feel they should be entitled to in their lives, which is fine. But anybody who comes to me with a long list of, I need this, I need this, I need this, I go, why? Why do you need that? Why do you think you need that? And often they don't know. They just think.
For example, what are you allowed to
Well, for
don't give away trade
example-
secrets, but I mean, do give away trade secrets.
No, but
we're
you know,
nosy.
It could be
Like what?
anything from a physical thing to like they have to be over 6'2", and they have to be blonde, and they have to be travel. I mean, one woman, she said to me, they have to have an MBA from the London Business School, and I was like, there are other business
She
schools.
just sounds like a pain in the rear end immediately. I wouldn't even want to meet somebody
Exactly.
who said
So
that.
why I wouldn't want to? I want to
Then
sleep
you
at
think,
night.
then you think, Laura, I wonder why she's single.
Well,
Why?
but you asked me if I don't take on people. I don't take on people who I think are just going to cause me firstly a headache, and who I will not be able to match, and who's just going to be unhappy.
Well, with that in mind, would you say part of the process then is re-educating people on
Which
the art
is why I offer coaching as well. And, you know, we do relationship coaching, we do date coaching, we do all sorts of other things. And a lot of the time we do that first before we take them on as a client to see whether or not they can...
How do you coach someone to go on a date?
Well, there's a lot of things that people don't realise they do wrong on dates. Art of conversation, the art of flirting. It's how to handle rejection as well. All the time people go on there and they think it's their last chance at happiness ever. They think, oh, he has to like me. And actually, you need to be the chooser, not the chosen.
You know what I'd do? I mean, if I went on a blind date and it was obviously going to be hopeless, I'd say, you know what? Let's face it, we're not going to go anywhere here, but let's just have a nice evening.
Yeah.
We're here now. Let's enjoy ourselves, which would take the pressure off, make everybody chill out, and then maybe you could have a nice time. Or not, as the case
but I
may
think
be.
people put a lot of pressure on themselves because it's almost like a date is a sense of validation. If somebody likes you, then you can feel a sense of validation. Your ego gets a stroke. If somebody doesn't repeatedly, and you think, oh, God, what am I doing wrong? That's bad.
Well,
it's not always easy.
So that's really easy. And how do you coach it? Do you do like, you act it out? I'm really interested.
Yeah. No,
'Cause I've had to do corporate coaching for years, and taking like blue chip company senior executives how to deal with pressure and under TV interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
enormous fun.
Yeah.
Because I just make them lose their temper. I say, now look what you look like on the screen. You look like an idiot. And they go, oh my God.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very
it's great.
interesting.
It's huge fun. So with you, what do you do? You
It's
sit
not
at a
dissimilar in a way because you're trying to get a rise out of somebody, aren't you? In that sense,
Probably not the best phrase, but go on.
Stop it. But it's very similar in that we try to make them see how bad things can be. And then look at that. Did you see? That was an awkward conversation. And you're right, we probably will do. And it's not just conversations, it's also text messages afterwards. Like as soon as dates have happened, it's the post-date thing. What do we do now? What do we do now? We'll coach them on everything, every step of the way, from before the date, during the date, after the date. It's good fun.
So complicated.
I was going to say, this is all
This
great, but do you ever despair that you actually have to go into this much detail to try and educate someone on what once upon a time, let's be honest, used to just be second nature?
But as you said, people are very confused. Guys are very confused. They don't know what to do. Look, Me Too's happened. Can they flirt with people, or is that a bit, oh, am I crossing the line? What do I do to a woman? Will she be feminist and be offended by me? Will I be too empowering? Will she want to choose what she wants for dinner? Will she want to choose where we go for a date? It's difficult,
I'll give you, for example, it really was a long, long time ago. I had a series of blind dates, and I'd waited to meet this particular very attractive girl, turned up, blah, 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 blah. No, not from an agency, thank you, and been recommended. And I opened the door of the restaurant. And she says, I know how to open a bloody door, thank you. Didn't get further than hors d'oeuvre before I thought, bye.
Well, women have to be much.
That? It's
exactly.
just manners.
Exactly.
So let me ask you a question, as you have your finger on the social pulse, literally. And it's something that I do worry about, because I'm a kind of old-fashioned guy, because I'm a lot older than you. But the thing is this, if you open a door for a woman, or is that some sort of complete no-no, or is it just, for me, it's just
ridiculous.
It's just manners for me. I'm not saying I'm superior. I don't think you know how to open a door, don't have the strength. It's just
Absolutely
my
agree.
mum, my late parents, when my mum, if we were in a restaurant and mum popped off to the loo and came back to the table, my dad would stand up. Always.
Absolutely.
And he was impeccably mannered.
Absolutely, you're right. It's not about being feminist. It's about being polite. It's about having respect for each other. And I would imagine it works both ways. It's sort of like saying when the bill comes, the woman should.
This is the next thing I wanted to ask.
Well, it's almost like the guy standing up for a woman is the equivalent of a woman gesturing to pay for a bill. It's mutually respectful of each other.
What should a guy do? This is men's radio station. This is one of the things. I'm going out on a day, and joking aside, you could go to Subway, Greg's, Nando's, whatever, or you could go to somewhere fabulous in Chelsea. Doesn't matter. The bill comes. What is the correct procedure?
Okay, for the first 3 dates, a guy should pay, but the woman should gesture. And if she doesn't, or maybe doesn't gesture to pay half, but buys a drink or something, the guy should really, for the first 3 dates, because he is inviting her out most of the time. It works that way.
What
Would
happens
you like to
when
go
you're
out?
saying, you've said you got a lot of women who are, what's this, Bumble thing?
Well, Bumble is the application where the female makes the
first move. Exactly.
So yes, that's a Bumble moment, as it were. Yes.
Okay. You live, you learn.
There you go.
Every day's a school day.
Every day's a school day in my life, that's for sure. So 3 dates.
I'd say, 3 dates. The first 3 dates, the guy has to pay, and then it's absolutely 50-50, in my opinion. The woman should offer to cook or take him out or whatever. I don't think anyone wants to feel used, and a relationship shouldn't be about, buying your way into someone's heart. It should be about finding someone who is on your wavelength that you want to spend time with. But equally, a woman likes to feel cherished at the beginning and pursued.
Even now.
Yeah, even now. A woman should gesture to pay. She should always offer. He should always say no.
I'm not being flippant, but what would happen if it's a same-sex couple?
Well, that's different. I mean, it's quite difficult because sometimes they want to be completely equal from the very beginning. I'll pay for this, you pay for the next. I'll pay for this, you pay for it. 100% fine. And
seems all right.
Yeah, that's how it is with me. For those who don't know, I'm in a same-sex relationship.
Yeah.
And even since when I met my husband, that's how we arrange it. I do pay, and you sometimes pay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, every couple's different, but I think that's fair. It makes sense.
And speaking of equality, we've got an interesting comment from Twitter. They said it's good that we have Lara on the show. We're being inclusive because it's men's radio station.
Yeah.
So
thanks,
people
guys.
are thinking that we would have men all the
No,
time.
of course not. No, it was interesting because when we were asked, when
him.
Howard and I set this up, Howard Jameson and myself set this up, we were asked, "Oh, you're not going to have any women guests?" And I said, "Well, why would I cut out 50% of the brain power of this country? Well, that's ludicrous."
Yeah, it's not the equivalent of a feminist station, is it?
No, it is not. And of course, there's women's radio station as well. So
and they have men on there, don't they? So
well, they have me on there, so they. I do a sort of one-on-one in-depth interview, but yeah, of course they do. Of course, that would just be ridiculous. No, all right, Phil.
I was going to say, Laura, you can't possibly sort of leave us anytime soon without mentioning your television show.
Yes.
On W.
That's right.
That has been on. Now, it's not currently on, is it?
It's on again later in the year.
There's repeats coming up.
Repeat coming up, and it's basically called The Ultimate Matchmaker, and it's the only high-end dating show that's ever existed on television, which involves most glamorous dates. We have clients who come in to our office, and I've got a team of matchmakers who are hilarious and funny to watch, and then we set them up on these dates in castles, on private islands, it's really a spectacle for the eyes. It's really fun but funny. It's not like a serious thing when we go take ourselves very seriously.
Are these real dates though?
They are real dates, actually. Yeah, 100% real. They're not real clients all the time.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
So
they're not proper clients.
Well, one of them was, but my real clients wouldn't want to do television.
This is what I was about to say, because it's not Love Island or whatever those ghastly shows are.
Yeah.
So they're not real clients, but what are they, actors and actresses or people that do you want to be on a dating show?
No, they're
Yes,
real.
please.
They really are single and looking for love, and most of them are friends or part of the network that we've got. But they're all looking for love, and they were all real matches and introductions that we tried to make happen, and we did get some love actually out of it, which was incredible. But they're not. My real clients are a little bit more like okay, on
discreet.
television.
What's the average age of your clients?
Good question. We've got, to be honest, our youngest is like 22, which is ridiculously young. But
hang on,
older,
22 and can afford $9,000.
Yeah, but that's an exception.
Okay.
That's an exception. We actually the majority are over 45.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that you would have got to the stage in your life when you're thinking, well, I'm a pretty made man, I'm a pretty made woman. It's okay, right, now time to get a relate. 22.
I mean, that's
hasn't even
really
started. This is ridiculous.
That's skewed our average quite a lot, that one person, but most of them are over 45, and they've got serious intent.
The 22-year-old, I mean, a nice enough looking person. I don't go into any details. So there's nothing you can just say. I mean, great that you got a client. I mean, don't knock business.
No, but actually, he came in because he wanted coaching, and it started that way. And we weren't really happy to take him on until he had gone through that, because it was like, you could just go out and meet people. You're 22, you don't need us.
But surely that makes it quite tricky then, because if the average age of the client is somewhat older, how do you matchmake someone who is 22?
Well, it's much more difficult, because obviously they want, it was a guy and he wanted somebody who was sort of 19 to 22. You can't really go much older than him, a little bit. So that pool of prospects was obviously smaller, but we've got people, so it's part of the job.
It is part of the job. I find it absolutely fascinating that people do this and yet are so, in an age of communication, are so inept at that most basic of human emotions.
You know what's funny? We've actually got 1,000 Twitter followers. We've got 500 friends on Facebook. We've got thousands of Instagram connections. But we've never been more lonely. We really are going through a really weird time at the moment, where people are putting all of their self-worth on a validation, a like, a comment, and being accepted by strangers. We've got more access to strangers than we've ever had, and yet our friendship pools are smaller than we've ever had.
There's two things. One, the strangers think they know you, and they don't.
Yes.
Oh, you know, they tell me stuff, and I'm thinking, I don't know you. I've never met you. And you're telling me I don't want to hear this stuff, and it's just this validation thing. I talk about it in my one-man show as well, because it's just madness.
It is also a very narcissistic culture that we're enabling, you know, by everyone selfieing themselves. It used to be quite embarrassing, you know, when the camera would flip, you'd be taking a picture and the camera would flip to you. You'd go, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I've got to face it towards you, not me. Oh, now it's like a weird thing has happened where we are proud to be slightly narcissistic. You know, we have to be for work. It's getting us work. You know, like you could probably attest to that.
What do you mean we're now happy?
Well, what I mean is...
where men really talk.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's radio station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Let me tell you about Jermyn Street Theatre. We are the smallest theatre in the West End, only 70 seats. We are a registered charity and not grant-aided, run by a small team of volunteers and trustees. Jermyn Street Theatre is a hidden gem. It combines the comfort and convenience of the West End with the intimacy of a studio. Every seat has a perfect view of the stage, and even a whisper is audible. Every seat is a premium seat. This is a secret theatre in the heart of the West End, once found, never forgotten.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's radio station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of Souter Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Souters would like to wish Men's radio station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being.
Slick 50 Barbershop is a kitsch barbers based in West Leigh, Essex, specialising in retro haircuts, beyond and on. It's always been about the lifestyle. Music and fashion are a big part of Slick 50's style, and will be an inspiration in the workplace. It's become a community shop where you can purchase from a small selection of vintage apparel, t-shirts, CDs, and Slick's own hair product, Tweet Sweet Pomade. If you would like to book a haircut, please call 01702 390 916 or visit barbershoprockabilly.co.uk or Slick 50 Barbershop on Instagram. Gracias.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's radio station, where men really talk. You're listening to Men's radio station.
There you go. Sorry.
How many? What is it? So good we named it twice.
It is so good we
It's
named
so
it.
good you just... Well, your fingers today are like bananas, Phil Dave. What the hell's going on with you?
Well, I do apologise.
I remember when you were skilled.
What
happened?
Why
have I inherited the
I'm used to BBC equipment. It doesn't do this. Anyway.
that we pay for? Yeah.
Do beg your pardon.
Yeah. What are you doing now? Just clearing your throat?
I might have a sandwich.
Oh, God. Why don't you just have lunch? And there we
Can
are.
I?
Well,
Thanks.
do whatever you want. It is Men's radio station coming at you live, our version of live anyway, but live from Covent Garden, right in the heart of London. Gore blimey, governor, don't you know? Feed the birds tuppence a bag. Right. In the studio now, two likely looking dudes, Dev and Prash. Welcome to Men's radio station.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
No,
It's a pleasure to be here.
don't be so polite, please. That makes me very nervous.
Thanks for dragging us out here in the rain, Mr. Kane.
Is it raining now?
Oh, yes.
Yes, it's
Oh,
pouring down.
It's pouring?
But it's worth it. It's worth it being.
Why?
Because of your smiling face and
Yeah,
the environment,
and
the ambience.
Dennis's fashion sense and Phil's hair. That's
it's-
everything you like.
that's why
Right
we're here.
now, Dev Modi, you are a I'm only getting as far as saying this before my first question. A chartered business psychologist.
You got it.
I have no idea what I just said. I don't know what it means. I'm reading it, but I'm like, you what? What? Right. Tell us all about it.
So, I'm a business psychologist where a lot of the time I spend helping leaders in the corporate arena be successful. So whether it's around top tier executive teams, kind of the CEO's top team, but a mix of men and women. But in particular, my experiences with men in the senior positions kind of inspired me to get involved with Prash around men empowerment. And the psychology part is we apply psychology to the workplace. So essentially, how do you get the best from your people using the latest technologies and theories from psychology? So whether that's coaching, team dynamics, change, cultural change within an organization, get involved in all of that. But the stuff that I really, really love with business psychology is the one-to-one work that I do, where you get to have deep conversations with leaders, understand what makes them tick, and help them to be successful.
One of the things that immediately springs to mind, having worked in the corporate sector for many, many years as a writer,
Right.
I've never, and before I went into sort of more entertainment, I've never met so many huge egos in my life, in corporate world. I mean, you would think they were like Elton John meets, I don't know, Barbara Streisand. You think, really, it's a company, get over it, you know? Do you find this?
You know, what's really funny is I used to work at the BBC as part of their psychology unit.
You have my deepest
Yeah,
congratulations.
so I've got some connection with you guys.
You must have been so busy.
I was.
I cannot even begin to imagine your working day.
We're heavily used.
There was a queue going round the block at Broadcasting House. Dev can see you now.
No wonder you're used to work.
So, that's why I left, but I moved on. But it was fun. And I think, a lot of egos, but there's also a sense of humility and vulnerability that I see of these leaders that they probably don't reveal to their people. Because I'm often in a one-to-one session with them or in a team session where the very point of the team session is to get them into that space of trust and vulnerability. So that experience over the last 15 years, I think, has given me the insights that now we use in men empowerment. So,
So let's bring in Prash now. Luckily, the rain hasn't spoilt your hair, by the way. I could see that it was worrying you.
Aloe vera gel, it's organic.
Is it? It's aloe vera. Now, it says here, I like this. How's your sandwich, Phil? Is it good? What is the matter with you? Are you eating for two or something? But you haven't stopped eating the whole morning.
Look, in case you haven't noticed, it is lunchtime.
God's sake, you see. Right, Prash. You bring wisdom, spiritual depth, and humour developed through whoever's banging the table, stop it, unless you're Doris Stokes, in which case knock twice. And humour developed through a decade of running international retreats and workshops. Tell us more. Fantastic, by the way. I like it. I understood that a bit better.
good.
Right, well, first things first, everybody who's listening, close your eyes and chant Om. Okay.
You serious?
Nah.
Oh, okay. Well,
that comes later.
I'm so gullible. I just have to close my eyes and do it.
I just wanted to dispel with the cliches.
Oh, good. Right.
So now that we've dispelled with the cliches. So I'm an immigrant. I came here in 1972.
Right.
From East Africa.
Where?
From Uganda.
Okay.
As part of the Ugandan exodus.
Well, part of the Idi Amin, you got 3 minutes to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, 3 minutes to get there. So
my parents... He was a winner, wasn't he, old Idi? What a lovely guy.
I mean, it was, back in 72, so I grew up in, arguably some of the best music genres era of the time, of course, Carlos Santana, all those in the 80s, some awesome stuff there. And I just lived the life that pretty much most people of Asian origin probably know very well. Your parents work hard to get you through education, you get your degree, you go out there and you earn a shitload of money doing the normal things that they want you to do, law, finance, IT, stuff like that. So 27 years in the city, working in corporate circles in finance and technology, and I decided at some stage along that journey that I'm kind of not fulfilling my real passions here, and probably not unlike yourself, Russell, I decided to make a little bit of a change, and that led me on a journey of self-discovery. Fast forward a few years, about 12, 13 years, and I ended up accidentally going on a retreat. We spent a night naked, killing a few goats. I'm kidding. And it was really, really good.
I am never playing poker with you.
I don't
ever.
understand.
I just want you to know.
thought you were being serious.
I'm sitting there going, oh my God.
Oh,
Really?
the naked part. Anyway, it was a retreat.
Were the goats involved or not?
no,
All right,
With the
okay.
with the goats, you were just kidding.
Oh, Phil.
Finish the sandwich.
That's
now.
why I had his
That's what the sandwich was for. Now do you see the purpose of lunch?
He spied his brain. About 13 years ago, I went on a retreat. It really made a big difference. I was in personal development, kind of transformational field of education anyway, and it just really was the right time. Went on a retreat. I found it hugely beneficial. And
Was that in the UK?
It was in the UK, in the Brecon Beacons, Buckland Hall, where we're running a retreat next month. Shameless plug. Awesome place.
Did you know you're here to talk about your stuff?
It's an incredible retreat. It was my first retreat. Had an amazing time, and I decided that we're going to do something more useful other than just going in and being a corporate whore. And that gave birth to mantra therapy, urban spirituality, which is kind of what I'm the founder of. And fast forward, I don't know, 8-9 years, and I don't know, 7,000 or 8,000 people attend our events. 1,000 people attend our retreats. Obviously, we've got a really nice Facebook presence, social presence now.
So, 1,000 people a time?
No, overall.
Wow.
Over the past 7 years, 8 years.
Okay.
Loads of people. We run retreats across Europe, and seeing the transformations occur in both men and women has just been a real inspiration. And that kind of gave birth to this whole thing, that we just saw so many arseholes, including the two that we saw in the mirror here. And then...
Thank God it's not the BBC. We would be putting out apologies.
Sorry.
There'd be reports written. Me, I don't care.
I have to tell you, men's radio station makes me very twitchy because we're allowed to use certain language
I
on
know,
station.
I know.
It does make me very twitchy.
What is Arsenal?
Arsenal.
Very good. Well done.
Arsenal.
No, I'm sorry. I don't... Dennis, I'm sorry to digress, gentlemen. Dennis.
What is it?
As I have Spurs running through my veins, don't ever use that A word in this studio, ever. I never want to hear that word again.
I'll try my best.
I'm sorry to be heavy about it, but
Prashant,
the
what
A
would you
word
say
is
the
never
reaction
used. Right.
is? Sorry, moving away slightly from football. We swore we weren't going to be stereotypical.
We weren't, but you can't have the A word banded around in my radio studio. That's all there is to it.
When you approach people, when people approach you, maybe somewhat skeptical, who knows? Because this is quite niche, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Do you notice a difference before and after? So let's just say someone is daring enough to give your ways a chance. Do their attitudes totally change afterwards?
I hate to say it, and it sounds so cliched, but they actually do. They actually do. And the good part is...
Why do you say it? I've got to interrupt. Why do you think it sounds bad? Why?
I say it's bad because there's a lot of skepticism and indifference, unfortunately, when it comes to things spiritual, because people think it's all woo. And in actuality, we're talking about a tradition of metaphysics and philosophy which dates back 8,000 years, which has given birth to modern psychology, and therefore has a whole host of techniques and tools and strategies that people can actually use, and they just kind of need to open their eyes.
And it's kind of tricky at 8:30 on a Monday morning, stuck on the Northern Line, to embrace it. No, I'm a meat and potatoes guy. This is the fact of it, and I love this intellectual look, highbrow stuff. I do. I find it fascinating. It is so difficult, Oh, I haven't been to Tesco today. Oh, Christ! I've got to get the car MOT, and you're running around like an idiot. That's real life.
It is real life. And what we're doing is we're giving people the old red pill. So you've seen The Matrix.
Of course.
What we're doing is we're
Red pill,
disrupting
blue pill.
people's patterns. And I know Dev, being the expert psychologist here, will talk about it. And that's part of what we do with Men Empowerment. So through the mantra therapy, urban spirituality work, Phil, to finish that question, we found a lot of people, and most of our audience are, and our kind of people who come are professionals, busy professionals, burnout execs, self-employed people. And a lot of them come with this sort of, hey, I need to kind of make an improvement or a breakthrough or stop this old habit or, actually make my life a little bit more peaceful.
Are they burnt out because of the job? Are they burnt out because of life? I mean,
Both.
And what do they want out of it?
So, as you were speaking, I was thinking about a month ago, I went to an event Prash had organised, about 150 people in the room. We had men and women, and I was doing a bit of a quick talk. So I asked the women in the audience, who here thinks that men need more EQ, emotional intelligence? And I would say about 90% of women put their hands up. Then I asked the audience, men in the audience, how many of you think that you need help with your emotional intelligence, or men in general? 2 men put their hand up.
Right.
And I said, here's the problem. Because the women believe you need help, but you don't think you do.
What is you've lost me. What is emotional intelligence?
So emotional intelligence is a concept around how a lot of society is focused on IQ. So analytical thinking, intelligence, logic, math, science, etc., engineering. So the focus in society has been around that. And the bit that's probably been missing has been a focus on actually interpersonal skills. So emotional intelligence is shorthand.
So this is like almost leading on, and frankly by accident. I wish I could say I'd planned it. No, I'm always frank about that. What Lara was saying in the first hour of the show is that people don't know how to communicate.
Yeah. That's an element of it for sure. And I think the first step of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. So as Prash was talking about the workshops that we do, the first building block before someone can really shift and transform is actually developing self-awareness, understanding yourself, knowing who you are. And frankly, when men look in the mirror, they're so distracted by all the things that they want to be rather than what's in front of them, that they kind of carry this mirage of this future self. And all they see is the gaps. They see the gaps between what they want and who they are.
What do they want?
Well, if you think about social media, you think about newspapers, you think about what women often project as well, unconsciously or consciously on men. Men have very high expectations of themselves, and they don't often feel that like they measure up. So there's this constant push.
In a person, because I find it fascinating. This they have high expectations of themselves. What, in a personal way, or earning money, or climbing up the greasy pole of the corporate world? What?
All of it. It's like the attractiveness of the woman next to them, the amount that they get paid, if they're a business owner, a successful entrepreneur. It's all about comparison. So that's a big part of it.
Shallow, though. Just to pick up on one thing, the attractiveness of the woman next to you. How about what that person is to you as a soulmate? Because none of us are perfect. Some of us put a bit of weight on, then we can lose a bit of weight or whatever. Is that why these successful guys keep dumping their wives and go off with some 25-year-old idiot?
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, Russell. And here's the thing.
Ridiculous. It is. That's why but this is why I love Los Angeles. The reason I love Los Angeles is every successful guy dumps his charming, attractive, intelligent wife, right? Runs off with some twerp who's like 26, right? So exactly. Los Angeles is packed with fabulous women, all on the shelf at about 50, and no one wants to go out with them.
Exactly. So if you're single at 50 in the UK, you know where to go.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane.
You are not alone.
it's very, but it is a very shallow. I mean, being serious, it's a very shallow view of. Sorry, Dennis,
so. I just want to read some comments here.
Great.
We've got comments from Chrissy. She's from Spain and she's listening, and she also said he doesn't know the name of the guy, but you're talking a lot of sense.
That was when Dev you were talking.
Yeah, that's Dev.
Did you say talking nonsense or a lot of sense? A lot of sense.
And Mary says, you're talking about emotional quotient earlier. She said that it's good that men should also promote their own emotional quotient, but women must also understand men.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it works both ways.
One of the reasons that we set up Men's Radio Station, and people said, "Well, can women listen?" I go, "Duh." What do you think? No, there's an off switch.
That filtered out.
It was completely filtered out. Very expensive equipment.
Dev, can I pick up on something that you said just before? Because this really does confuse me, and I should imagine quite a lot of others as well.
Yeah.
You said that men have to know themselves. How do you know when you know yourself? I'm really not trying to.
No, I'm with you. I don't understand.
Serious. How do you know when you know yourself?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. So I think part of it is if you're asked the question, what are your core values? How easy is it for you to answer that question? What are the things that you really stand for in your life? What are the things that are most important to you? What are you willing to sacrifice in the pursuit of what you want in the future? What is your purpose? How do you describe your purpose? What are your weaknesses and your blind spots?
So we've now established I have absolutely no idea who I am.
Exactly. There you go.
And Phil, if you could take a number and stand behind me in the queue, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. What this whole thing, it's interesting. So, what is my purpose?
Yeah.
Are we not, again, it comes down to real life versus the life that we would like, because I find you guys absolutely fascinating, and there's a big part of me was saying, you know what, if I had all the time, this would be great, this would be terrific. But I'm a horrible giggler, and if I went away on a retreat, I would be useless. I've tried it once, I got thrown out. with my friend Andrew, and if Andrew's listening, you will remember we got chucked out because we couldn't stop laughing because it was so po-faced. We're so busy trying to live.
Yeah.
Life has never been more complicated. We're all working harder, and we're much older than we thought we would be, and working crazy. I mean, it's ridiculous. In all honesty, I work most nights till about 2, writing.
Wow.
Most
crazy.
Nights. It's insane. But I'm in a very busy period of my life, which is lovely. But I didn't expect at this particular juncture to be. So we're so busy worrying about having a roof over our heads, worrying about our kids, probably worrying about our parents in many instances. How do we have? It almost feels like, and please don't take offence, I mean it in the right way, like it's a luxury to have these deep philosophical thoughts.
Allow me to interject for a section.
No, please do.
For a moment, because I was one of those guys who never had such conversations. And that is that it's actually something that we regard as a luxury, which actually should be a necessity. And let me give you a simple example, because, most of the guys listening here so wherever you are in the world, you probably end up having to service your car once a year. We all have to take a car for an MOT or a service. It's a necessity. We kind of just do it. Most of us do tax returns every year. And when we do them, it's kind of a nice way for us to, isn't it true that when we do tax returns, it gives us a snapshot of what our incoming, our expenses are, and so forth. It gives us a nice stock take. So similarly, I think it should be a necessity to actually take stock of where we are in life and what we're charting. We do it in our business. Most of us who are in the corporate field or business owners usually do some kind of strategic work at least once a year.
Yes.
So why not for the person who's at the core of your business or the core of your career, i.e. you? Why not do something that's for you? Because guess what? If you want to be in a great relationship with somebody, or if you're in a crappy relationship right now, surely the work needs to start with the person who's at the core of it, i.e. you. So why should it be a luxury? It needs to be reframed. This radio station is the perfect breeding ground, as is Menpowerment, to help people to recalibrate the way they think about something as a luxury to a necessity. And the more we start doing that, the more we can start taking this seriously.
I wonder how many guys look in the mirror and really, two things, don't like what they see and think, you know what, this is me and I'm stuck with it, and hell, this is my life. Do you think?
Therein lies a great question for listeners to answer. If you actually look in the mirror and you are unsure of yourself, or you look in the mirror and think, oh great, I'm stuck with this, what can I do? I think you should call up.
Be great. And if you're going to call up, he said, it's 0203 290 4411. But we got it as a jingle.
Would you like the jingle?
Look, I've gone to the trouble of getting the great David Mindel to create marvellous jingles. It's the least we can do as he sits in France drinking rosé. Okay, so that's what he does. Really? That's his whole life.
Better have the jingle then.
Well, I think it's the least you could do, yeah.
0203 290 4411.
Most sarcastic person on Facebook, David Mindel.
And now you know why I insist on reading out the number.
Well, you don't like that jingle? It's sweet. It's retro. I've gone deliberately retro chic with it.
I would have done one free for you, Russell. I'm a musician. That's kind of, I love that stuff. I could have done a jazz thing for you.
Right, you're on.
Kind of,
okay. No, now you talk yourself into it.
Bloody hell.
No, you talk yourself into it, fella.
Bloody hell.
We want a whole raft of jingles now. If you've got a jazz theme would be good. Are you a musician as well?
I do, yeah. Mantra therapy is kind of based on, part of it is based on using mantras and music for meditation. So it's a kind of cool thing.
What do you play?
I play keys and I sing.
Really?
Supposedly.
No. You're obviously. Are you a musician as well?
I do a bit of drumming too.
I knew you were going to say drumming. I just knew. Because I'm drumming myself.
Oh,
I
really?
knew you were going to just say...
Love the drums. You can't beat it.
Yeah, the heartbeat. Another joke.
Phil,
there. That's great. That's great. You're on form today.
When you're not here, you work in the Christmas cracker factory, joke factory, don't you? You're the thing. Every Christmas Day, everyone goes, oh my God, who wrote that? It's Phil Dave.
I wanted to, if you don't mind, Phil, I wanted to ask you a quick question to help answer the thing that Russ asked them. If you get a cut somewhere and you bang your head somewhere, what would you normally do with a cut? Yeah.
Well, one would assume that you would clean the wound, depending on how terrible it is. I suppose clean it, and then you'd want to put a plaster over it to cover it up to allow it to heal.
And heal it usually does, and you're back to normal again. It's kind of what people do when they look in the mirror and they don't like what they see, Russell, I think. As to your point, people look in the mirror, they don't like what they see, and they put a plaster over that because they don't like seeing what they want to heal it. Guess what the plaster is? Intoxication, distraction, social media, movies, sex, you name it. Whatever your personal poison or preference is, your go-to comfort, that's your plaster. And then what you're doing is you're lulling your true self into a sense of normality. And when you're into a sense of normality, you think everything's fine. And like Phil, you're walking away thinking, I'm cool, I'm great, my wound's healed. But guess what? The core inside hasn't. Because nobody's taken the time to spend an hour, do a stock take like we do at Men Empowerment.
Somebody once summed it up really well for me. If you've got an emotional problem, think of it as fresh chicken. No, like fresh chicken from a supermarket, right? And you put it away in a bedroom drawer somewhere, and you think, well, it's gone. And eventually, the smell of the chicken will permeate right through your home. And I've never forgotten that analogy. I always thought that was really spot on, that if you think you've just hidden the problem will always regurgitate itself in a very unpleasant manner. So is it mostly corporate work or more of an individual basis that you guys undertake?
Well, I mean, both. A lot of the stuff I do is more corporate. Stuff that Prash does more so is in the individual, but the Men Empowerment is more for members of the public. So it's kind of pulling together our complementary skills so that we can offer the best of what I experience in the corporate arena, best of what Prash experiences with the retreats, but in a form that actually makes it easy for men to come together and be honest with each other. And that's kind of where we're seeing a real big demand. What's interesting is a lot of our friends, when we first started to tell them about this concept, they looked a little bit surprised and shocked. It's like, this is a bit of a strange idea. Like, why would you want to do Men Empowerment? Like, we don't need help. So there was a bit of that going on. And then we'd spend about...
Do they see it as a sign of weakness?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Something that's so... This runs like a river through Men's radio station with all our guests. When men are trying to improve... I'm going to use the word improve. Okay, just go with that for a minute. It's a generic term and covers a multitude of problems. But if you're trying to do that, it's like... But if I talk to someone... It's seen as weakness, and it's not weakness. We know that, but that's why. But the necessity to set up your own radio station to try and prove the point proves the point.
Well, I think I was just thinking about this the other day about the Men's Health magazine, where it's quite normal for guys to read Men's Health and not think anything negative of reading the magazine. It's not implied in reading the magazine that you're sick. People see it as a positive. It's like, wow, I'm going to learn fitness techniques and stuff about myself, and it's not that different from what we do in Men Empowerment, to be honest, because we have body, mind, and spirit. They're the three kind of elements we bring into our workshop. So we do focus on the physical, because the physical presence that you have as a guy impacts your confidence, the way you express yourself. We focus on the mind in terms of your thoughts, your limiting beliefs, your empowering beliefs. We focus on spirit, which is about what do you connect with, what's the higher contribution that you want to make in the world. So it's not just all about me.
I got a quick question. I got a question because we've got to go to a break.
Okay.
But here's my question to you two, because you're both experts. Why is it, men or women, when you can't sleep at night and it's like 3:30 in the morning, why are all your thoughts negative? Why do we do that to ourselves? Why don't we lie in bed thinking, do you know what, I've done this. It's not so terrible.
That's a quick question.
No, it isn't. But I want the guys to think about it. And we're going to. I'll tell you what. And while you guys are cogitating on the meaning of life, which of course, as we know, is 42, then we're going to take a quick commercial break, because that's how we make our money.
You're listening to
Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of South Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. For the past 60 years, we've been providing the world's best Cuban cigars. When it comes to cigars, there's no other than South Cigars from Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Souther's would like to wish Men's Radio Station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being. Check them out. Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's Radio Station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Let me tell you about Jermyn Street Theatre. We are the smallest theatre in the West End, only 70 seats. We are a registered charity and not grant-aided, run by a small team of volunteers and trustees. Jermyn Street Theatre is a hidden gem. It combines the comfort and convenience of the West End with the intimacy of a studio. Every seat has a perfect view of the stage, and even a whisper is audible. Every seat is a premium seat. This is a secret theatre in the heart of the West End, once found, never forgotten.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of South Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at South's would like to wish Men's Radio Station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being.
Slick 50 Barbershop is a kitsch barbers based in West Lothian, Essex, specialising in retro haircuts beyond and on. It's always been about the lifestyle. Music and fashion are a big part of Slick 50's style, and will be an inspiration in the workplace. It's become a community shop where you can purchase from a small selection of vintage apparel, t-shirts, CDs, and Slick's own hair product, Tweed Sweet Pomade. If you would like to book a haircut, please call 01702 390 916 or visit barbershoprockabilly.co.uk or Slick 50 Barbershop on Instagram. Gracias.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
I'm Russ Kane. Thank you so much again for joining us here, or letting us join you here, coming at you live in the centre of Covent Garden. From Men's Radio Station. With me is Dennis, mastering all of social media, and Phil Dave, mastering mainly lunch today. It would appear. My special guests at the moment are Dev and Prash. Intellectual answer to Anton Deck, it would appear. Well, basically just Deck these days, it seems. Right, guys, I asked you before the break, why is it in the middle of the night we only have are filled with negativity and never anything decent that we've ever achieved?
So let me answer that by bringing in some evolutionary psychology. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons is that we are attuned to think about negative information more than positive. It's a survival reflex because our ancestors who were super positive basically got eaten and killed first, and those of us who are a bit more concerned and worried and attuned to danger and threat survived. So as a society, we've evolved to actually be hypersensitive to negativity. So when you've got some space and you've got some time and you haven't got things distracting you, the mind can be a pretty difficult place when you're in a solitary environment. So if you're not allowed to watch TV, you're not allowed to look at your phone, and you just sit with yourself, the mind very quickly starts to gravitate to negative information. So the mind's a bit like Velcro for negativity and Teflon for positivity. So positive stuff takes a long time to sink in. That's why bad news spreads. And that's why most of the world's newspapers and media focus on negative information, because you have a bad experience in an Apple store, you tell 10 friends. You have a good experience, think that's just normal. That's business. Yeah. You know, I paid for that service. So that's kind of what happens when you're trying to get to sleep at night. And actually, it's a really good metaphor for generally how the mind works with negative information. So the more you think about anxiety, the more anxious you become about it. Just the same way, the more you think about or try to go to sleep, the more you stay awake.
Hopeless. I mean, my sleep patterns are terrible.
Well, that's the challenge, right? So the more you focus on what you don't want increases. And the same thing happens in a lot of the psychology work we do. So in our Men Empowerment Masterclass, which is a one-day workshop, we do live demonstrations. So we have guys coming up, get live coaching from me and Prash, where we actually put them in the hot seat. And we say, what's going on for you? What's your inner critic saying to you right now? And if you were to step into your courageous self, what would your courageous self be saying? And we work through
I love
stuff
that. The
like
courageous self.
The courageous self.
I like. Do you like that, Phil?
Demo.
I like that.
Well,
never heard that before.
Well, if you want to,
this is good.
We could do a bit of a demo.
Is courage subjective?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much any psychological concept is subjective, but you've got a certain kind of shared understanding or acceptance of what courage might mean in society. So it depends on the situation. But I think when we're in the workshops, we get that alignment as a group of guys, because if you're sitting on your own and thinking, I'm really courageous and I'm a real tough guy, but actually you're not living in the real world, you've got nothing to test that courage. I think one of the biggest tests for a man is when he gets married, to be honest, when he has kids, because you can think you're the most tolerant, humble, easygoing
trust
person.
me, you won't be.
But when you can sit in a cave and think you're the most
still
peaceful person in the
come
world.
back, and you can't get rid of them.
Exactly.
You
got to put
Who says
yourself.
romance is dead?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is that with what we say is negative emotions should not be pushed away. And actually, negative emotions need to be learnt from and accepted. And there's a big issue with a lot of the positive psychology movement and the New Age movement, which says negative thoughts are bad. Actually, you create this friction with your own self. Because actually, we're designed to think negatively.
Was New Age just a load of old nonsense? Well, the music was terrible.
I think New Age psychology has got some good stuff in it, but this whole extreme focus on positivity without the balance of the negative and the positive, the yin and yang, the ancient kind of Eastern traditions, they really had some real wisdom there around acceptance of the good and the bad, the devil and the angel within, and actually understanding both, because actually they're part of who you are.
Yeah, let me just chime in here for a second. I think that Devs hits a very good point, and to your point as well, Phil. I think you've got two kind of schools of thought, largely speaking. You've got the Western school of thought that says work hard and do. You've got to be doing, and you've got to be in doing mode. Work hard and accumulate all the things that you want in your life. And then you've got the Eastern school, which is saying don't do and don't work hard, just be. Appreciate what you've got right now. Realize that you're complete and whole in yourself, and just be. Now, here's the problem. If you're working hard and all the time, and that's where we come from, Western culture, then we're probably going to burn ourselves out. We got so many dissatisfied people. That's what we got. Whole society's full of them. If you go the Eastern way, and if you just sit and be, then you're probably going to get eaten up, or somebody's going to steal all your stuff. So there has to be a synthesis. There has to be a marrying of the two that teaches, I think, in this day and age, and I think this is what we got. We got to synthesize the two. So it's not about a New Age woo type of philosophy, but it's about something that's real, it's visceral, it can be used.
Which is actually what's quite fascinating about how you two have, as it were, come together. Because to me, as soon as I read up about you guys, I just thought, wow, how juxtaposed can you get? This is insane. This is almost as if you sort of got one extreme to the other. But I can tell just from speaking to you guys and learning from you that actually you really do complement each other.
It melds very well. You're saying in the break, excuse me, that you've got exercises, and we can all take part in these exercises.
Oh yeah, I think we've got some in a little right on this subject. Dev.
Why don't you want me to do it? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the subject, and I'll chime in.
Don't fall out of it, boys.
We'll close off with a little relaxation, which I'll do.
So I'm going to do this with the listeners.
You've got plenty of time, by the way. So you don't have to rush.
Really? Okay. How much time have I got?
You've got at least 20 minutes.
All right, cool. I'll take 3 minutes. Okay. But I'm going to kind of set this up so that listeners can kind of do the exercise at home. But also, for those of us in the room, we can also go through the mental motions of potentially doing it as well. So essentially, what I'd like you, if you're listening, to do is be in a place where you're sitting down and you've got a seat in front of you. So you've got an empty chair in front of you.
Okay.
And I want you to sit back and just imagine that in the chair in front of you is your inner critic. It's the part of you that criticizes you, puts you down. It's a little voice in your head that's kind of always there. And sometimes it's louder, sometimes it's quieter, but that's your inner critic, the inner self. That's that critical part. And I want you to imagine, what is that inner critic saying to you? If you could hear that voice right now, what would it be saying to you? And that inner critic sitting in that chair opposite you, what shape does that inner critic have? Is it a mirror image of yourself? Is it a contortion? Is it somebody else? Maybe it's someone from your past. Maybe it's a teacher who's taken the shape of a past caregiver. It could be all sorts of things. It could even be a character from a Disney movie, that inner critic that's kind of in front of you. And I'd like you to make this really visceral, like Prash said, and make it real, is actually, once you've got that image in front of you on the chair, stand up and sit down into that chair as if you are the inner critic. And now, looking through the eyes of that inner critic, I'd like you to voice, in the same tone, with the same words, what does that inner critic say to you? What kind of voice does it have? How does it beat you up? Is it harsh? Is it loud? Is it soft? Menacing? Think about that. Voice that out, 2 or 3 things, either actually doing it or in your mind. How does that make you feel when you hear yourself doing that? That's going on in your head on a regular basis, potentially holding you back from taking opportunities, from going for things that you really want in your life. And the sad thing is that inner critic, the more you do it to yourself, the more you express it outwards to the people around you. So, we're not going to leave you there because it's not a great place to be, but that's part of who you are. Make peace with that inner critic, but actually look back at yourself, the seat that you just left, and imagine that your courageous self is sitting in the chair opposite you. That's also a part of who you are. And looking at that courageous self, I'd like you to stand up again, shake off, however you want to shake that off, the inner critic, and step back into your seat before, and step into your courageous self. When you're really at your best, when you have all your faculties, your energy, you're really in that place of strength and being centered, how would you respond to those voices? How do you respond to those emotions? How are you feeling as the courageous self? Think about how you would react. What's the kind of things that you'd say to yourself? And from that place, how do you feel? How does that change your emotions? How does it change your body language? And for some of you, you'll notice that actually, by sitting in the courageous self, maybe your body language has shifted, actually, just by doing that very simple transition from one chair to the other. And when you're in the inner critic chair, your body language was maybe potentially a little bit subdued, slumped, maybe authoritarian, menacing. Very quick way to just understand the two parts of yourselves. And you're thinking, well, what can I do about the inner critic? Can I get rid of it? You can't get rid of it, actually. And a big part of this is accepting that. You're not going to get rid of your inner critic, but actually you can learn from it. And the quicker you learn from it, the quicker it goes back into the place where it's at, and you can step into the courageous self, which is really where your true opportunities lie in terms of progressing in your life.
Wow. I thought you were going to say, stand up from the chair and smash your inner critic right in the face.
Well, this
is my approach to life.
We do that on the day workshop.
I actually thought that's what you were going to say. Yeah, I just thought, just give him smack him in the gob.
I think that's the old school philosophy.
That is the Russ Kane method.
I've got tingles from that. Seriously,
it was terrific. Really yes, it was very, 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 very
sent me
good.
to a place I didn't know I could go.
Was there food there, Phil? Was there a queue?
There's actually an interesting exercise, and we've got comments from Mary.
Okay.
She said we must have more acceptance of each other and stop thinking we are inadequate and needs fixing. We are all amazing creations, and embrace that.
Wow.
And we've also got listener from Portugal, Calmonson. Thank you for listening.
Well, Portugal, fantastic. It's quite extraordinary. I'll tell you something, and the worst time to get an inner critic, well, any time is bad.
Right.
But when I'm doing my one-man show, either in London or in Los Angeles,
quick plug.
As I'm standing, it's sold out. Thanks.
Hey.
We're standing in. I don't need to plug. And I'm standing, and there's nowhere else to blame because I don't have a director. Nothing. It's just I've written it. I'm performing it. That's it. So I can't turn around and blame another cast member or something because there's only me. And just before the curtain opens up and I'm standing in the wings, this little, and I have to really fight it, this little voice says, "What the hell do you think you're doing?"
Right.
And if that little voice gets loud, you know, it would destroy you. And you have to actually tell it to blank off.
Yeah.
Which I actually do in the wings. You'll see me probably muttering to myself when I'm not praying. And because you can't let that critical side, you dare not. It's like being on a high wire. Yeah. You will fall. Guaranteed. Yeah. You'll tumble.
Well, 2 words to that, Russell, just to add into this dialogue. Imposter syndrome.
What is that?
Imposter syndrome.
Ooh.
It's the tendency for us mere mortals, so-called mere mortals, to diminish or dilute our actual capabilities and make us feel like, I shouldn't be doing this. Who the hell am I to be on a stage by myself? This is Dave Letterman. These are the big guys. What the hell am I doing here, running a radio station, doing this, doing that? And then imposter syndrome creeps into us without us even realizing it, you know, and then nobody kind of realizes it. And everybody's kind of like, everybody wanna sing my blues, nobody wanna live my blues. And that's what's going on. Imposter syndrome.
The crowd go wild.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought the radio signal.
No, that was my sound effect my fabulous sound effect. That was really, you know, this whole thing really taps into something. And I know, because I've known Phil a long time. I haven't known Dennis that long, but we're pretty like-minded people, and Howard as well, outside Howard Jameson. It's not just the little voice that really wants to drag you down, and it could be a parent who may have passed years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sometimes I'll open up about this. I mean, sometimes it's my dad, and I'm thinking, well, what the hell am I doing? You know, my dad died nearly 20 years ago. It doesn't actually matter what. Not only is he not here, it's irrelevant what he thinks. So it's completely impossible. And it's you've got your logical self saying, you're being an arse.
Yeah.
And then you've got your other side, the human side, thinking, well, I'm struggling here. You know, this is very hard to find. The imposter syndrome, I'd never heard that, but that is absolutely the summation of why do I think I can do this?
But that's really weird that you say that you believe that just because your father's not here anymore, that his opinion is irrelevant. Because more often than not, I mean, my late grandmother passed about 16 years ago. Both my grandmothers actually passed within 5 months of each other, both 16 years ago. And if I think to myself, what would they say if they were here now? I don't think that's irrelevant. I look at it almost as guidance.
Yeah.
If it was positive, but if you have somebody
not necessarily.
well, yes, because if somebody was, I'm not talking about a moral compass. I'm not talking about a moral compass, Phil. What I'm talking about is if you're doing a business venture, of which men's radio, women's radio, anything that we do, everything eventually has to, yes, there's a service that it provides, but it also has to there has to be income, otherwise the whole thing falls apart like a bad souffle, right? As well intentioned as you may be, if you've got a voice in your head saying, well, you're raving mad, why don't you just drive Uber?
So let me give you a suggestion.
I'm just thinking of souffle now.
Okay, so
hold that food with you.
Well, what you just said is very, very common. So I just wanted to play back what you were saying, which is you hear the voice of your dad who passed away, and the tone. I was assuming it was a harsh tone.
Yeah, it was pretty harsh.
Yeah, okay. So the thing is, it's very easy when you get those kinds of memories coming back that you fight with the memory. You want to control it. So it's called a controlling strategy. You want to control it by pushing it away or having a fight with it. You fight or flight, essentially, right? It's like you either want to fight with the memory or you want to run away from it. And the thing is, that sets you up for a lose-lose battle. Because the thing is, that's not how the mind works. The more you fight with it, the voice keeps on coming back. And that's why, how old are you, by the way?
Old enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Old enough to know not to answer that question.
Exactly. And the point is that no matter how hard you've been trying to get rid of that voice of your dad, it hasn't gone, has it yet?
No.
No, because that strategy doesn't work. And actually, 99% of psychologists and coaches out there use controlling strategies with their clients, which in the long term fail. The real strategy that is really helpful is something called acceptance strategies. And acceptance strategies is actually let the voice be there. don't give it attention. Be mindful, create space for it to be there, but actually refocus yourself on the voices that you do want to hear and creating attention towards that. And that's really, in terms of neuroscience, is how the brain works. The brain, if you try and get rid of pathways in the brain, you will fail every single time, because it's very, very difficult to rub out pathways that have already been created in the neurons. What you need to do is create new pathways. When you create new pathways, the old ones, they just get old, because no one's looking after them. After a while, your mind doesn't go there anymore.
So in a really trivial sense, it's almost as if you're not fueling a fire. So exactly the same way that if you starve a fire of oxygen, it's not going to burn.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's psychologically done. Exactly. Brilliant.
Philosophically speaking, it's a going towards rather than a running away from. And it's very much about that. And, in terms of brain chemistry, you're reinforcing new myelin sheaths. The myelin sheath around those new neural pathways are being created, which is why, I know it's cheesy as it is, things like doing exercise, meditating, all those wonderful things are actually good.
Why do you always put on a sort of Las Vegas lounge voice when you're talking about things which are very core to your business, as though they're not good things? There's nothing wrong with meditating.
I think
I've meditated for like I was doing it on the tube to just, I was all over the place and I had some, I just wanted to chill out. So it really works.
Absolutely, yeah.
Got rid of my headache. It works. I was taught how to do it. I find it exercising. Yeah, if I don't walk my dog, if we don't go out and walk the dogs, it has an impact. It has an impact.
Yeah.
Same as if I don't write every day. I have to write every single day. If I don't write, I get mentally clogged up.
Is that a
That's
release
self-awareness,
then?
right?
Yeah, I have to write.
I mean, what you've just shared is actually how self-aware you are, is the fact that you know that these are the things I need to do to help my well-being, and the fact that you've turned them into habits. But you see, for a lot of guys, they might not have got there yet, or they've been confused, or they've found some negative habits which actually take them into a different pathway. And although it gives them short-term pleasure, in the long term, it doesn't create a sense of,
If we turn the telescope round the other way, you're in corporate and you're more on a one-to-one basis. But it's sometimes you come across people who are hugely successful.
Yeah.
Measuring success by their income and their power, right? And they're monsters. They are real monsters, to the point of almost being sort of sociopaths.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you think, does it take... You're looking at each other like you clearly know you're talking about. You've got somebody in mind.
Yeah.
And I've met some of these people who are massively successful, run empires, and they are really without conscience at all. Is there if you need to be that successful, is that something, and I do call it being a sociopath, that you require?
Well, it's really interesting you brought that up, because we use a tool, a psychological tool with leaders in the corporate world, and its nickname is the dark side tool, which actually looks at different psychological dispositions that actually are in the normal population. So when you think about these different disorders that people have, it's on a spectrum. It's not a switch. One day you've got a mental illness and you're schizophrenic, and the next day you're not, or you're a narcissist one day and the other day you're not. People are on a spectrum. And in the corporate arena, they've found that people are very high on some of these dimensions. So we use this questionnaire and we coach them and we help them to understand, when are you at your best? Because often the very thing that got them there is a thing that then gets overplayed when they have power and influence, because now they can let those parts of themselves go unchecked. A couple of books that I've read over the years, one was called Snakes in Suits, which is...
What a great title.
Yeah, is the same. And another one was The Elephant is the Boardroom, something like that. And it was basically about how leaders in these senior positions sometimes use that power to intimidate and control others, because that's kind of what they were rewarded to do as they went through their career. That's how they were able to step over others to be successful. So when I'm working with these guys, a big part of it is actually holding up the mirror. So what I do, and the fact that I'm independent, they don't have any influence over me apart from paying the bill. But I'm independent to a certain degree. I can hold up the mirror and say, this is who you are.
And do they go, oh my God, or do they go, yeah, it looks pretty good to me?
90% of the time, they are really appreciative and they will accept it and they think, wow, what do I do now? How do I deal with this? How do I manage that with all the other stuff? And the 10%, they're the ones that resist, and you've got to have a real open, honest, courageous conversation with those guys.
Do they not feel that if you tinker with them, amend them, edit them, that they will not succeed and they won't be as successful, in inverted commas, as they currently are?
Yeah, do you want to go?
Yeah. I don't think so. Some do, and they put on a facade, and they'll kind of say, thank you very much. But actually, more often than not, the majority actually do want to do something about it, or they want to have be open to it. I've worked and delivered training in diversity and inclusion, various countries in Europe, and I invariably get a similarly positive response from the executives and CEOs that I've sat and talked in front of, and it's kind of like a sort of, it's not like, oh shit, is that what I am? It's kind of like, oh, okay, actually I can see these three things over here that probably I'm doing that. And when you take that approach, and again, it comes back to this thing about acceptance, right? You're not trying to diminish or crush. Many executives have NPDs, negative personality, narcissistic personality disorders of various shades. You're not trying to crush them. You're just trying to have them be aware of them, because the more aware they are, they know where to then suppress them.
But then what happens if they can't see that fault? Is it not sort of the same kind of concept to say someone who maybe has an addiction to something, if they can't see that there is a problem, why are they going to fix it?
We help them. We use tools. On our day workshops, we have some great tools that help them to see it, but in a way that's not going to pinch their ego too much. Would you say that's fair?
I mean, we're really raw. In our one-day masterclass, we're very raw with these guys. We're very direct. We tell them stuff that most people just would never tell them. So whether it's their friends or their family or their colleagues at work, they might just ignore these aspects of this individual. They might not even be observant of these factors. So what we do, because of our skills, we know, we can see the signs, and we're then able to say to the man in our workshop, this is what we're seeing. What do you think? Is this true? Is this really who you are, or is there another part of you? And through that dialogue and that kind of, you could say that rough dialogue that we have, which is respectful, but it's also tough. We go to a place of higher understanding, and that's the breakthrough experiences that the guys who come on our workshop, they experience, because we use multiple different strategies. We use breathing exercises, physical activity, as well as psychological stuff, which perhaps hopefully we'll get a chance to demo one of the breathing exercises. So that's sorry, what was that?
Go on, Dennis. What?
So, taking all of that together, we're able to break through, because people are living kind of a daydream. People are going through life pretty much living out the same things in terms of their habits from the past into the future. And in a way, our workshop is a bit of a wake up and a shake to the daydream that people are walking in, that self-hypnosis that we all go through. And as you say, here's the truth of who you are, and this is where you want to be. What do you want to do about it? And we leave that question. We let them sit with it. And when you're in a workshop, you can't run away. You can't distract yourself. You can't look at your phone. You got to sit with that question.
Ooh, right. We've got 2 minutes before the top of the hour. So what is your exercise?
I'm going to chime in. So this is from the ancient yogic teachings, and it's called breathing yoga. Pranayama is the Sanskrit name. I want to invite all of you who are listening or viewing to join me for about 1 minute, and we're going to try this out. I'm going to have you close your eyes or focus on an object in your room or where you are that draws your attention. Once you've closed your eyes, I want you to join me in what I call rhythmic square breathing, and I'm going to guide you through it. We're going to breathe in through our nose for a count of 4, my count of 4. We're going to hold that breath for a count of 4. You're then going to release that breath through the nose for a count of 4. And then finally, you're going to keep that breath out for a count of 4. That means you won't breathe in or out. So on my count, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. Keep out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Keep out, 2. Good. In, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3. All the way out, 2, 3, Keep the breath out. 2, 3, 4. Breathe fully in. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Keep out. A few more times. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Keep out. One more time. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 4. Keep out. 2. Stay in your own pace. Be where you are. Maintain that stillness. Congratulations, you've just trained your mind to slow down the traffic on the motorway and bring focus to the one thing all creatures have in common: breath. And by doing so, you allow the mind to have a breather, a metaphorical breather, to think how it will respond to the next thing or the next obstacle or the response that you have in your life. And this, my friends, is a key to use any time of day or night, before you shout and have that argument with your wife or husband, or before you make a decision at work. Try this for 1 minute and you'll feel the magic.
Wow, I was gone. I absolutely love it.
Have you ever heard Ross or me so quiet?
Never, ever. Only when I'm under general anaesthetic. Dev and Prash, it's been, I don't know where the hour's gone, it's been brilliant. How do we get hold of you?
Well, menpowerment.co.
Yep, menpowerment.co, our website. And
just CO, it's not
just CO.
Not com.
It's the kind of trendy kind of new thing to do.
All right.
Menpowerment.co. And on Facebook, we're on Men Power Academy. Men Power Academy on Facebook. We also have
all one
Facebook.
word?
Men
so
Power.
People making notes.
Men Power Academy on Facebook.
Menpowerment Academy.
Yeah, Men Power Academy.
They're falling out. I knew it would
This is
happen.
live, Jen.
I do this anyway.
I knew it would fall out.
Men Power Academy, Men Power Academy. You'll find us. Menpowerment.co. Our next event is on Sunday, the 3rd of March in Northwest London. Everybody's welcome. Gentlemen, feel free to give us a shout. We'll fill you all the details. It's going to be a great transformational workshop. And last but not least, we have an incredible retreat, 4 days on the 8th to 11th of March. Check us out at mantratherapy.co.uk. M-A-N-T-R-A, therapy.co.uk. Love you loads.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot, and I don't want to overwrite anything. But you two have to rush off, seriously. I mean, I know we've got to make way for another guest, but can you stay in the studio?
Well, they're welcome. They're very, I don't know, I'm going to be unconscious.
You've got to stay in the studio as well. We'll make room. We'll juggle the microphones around.
It's entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you guys. Anyway, meanwhile, Devon Prash, thank you. That was terrific. Loved it. Okay, we'll be back after this.
You're listening to
Men's radio station where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of South Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. For the past 60 years, we've been providing the world's best Cuban cigars. When it comes to cigars, there's no other than South Cigars from Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Stouters would like to wish Men's radio station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being. Check them out. Men's radio station, where men really talk.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's radio station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Let me tell you about Jermyn Street Theatre. We are the smallest theatre in the West End, only 70 seats. We are a registered charity and not grant-aided, run by a small team of volunteers and trustees. Jermyn Street Theatre is a hidden gem. It combines the comfort and convenience of the West End with the intimacy of a studio. Every seat has a perfect view of the stage, and even a whisper is audible. Every seat is a premium seat. This is a secret theatre in the heart of the West End, once found, never forgotten.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's radio station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of Stouter Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Stouters would like to wish Men's radio station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being.
Slick 50 Barbershop is a kitsch barbers based in West Lothian, Essex, specialising in retro haircuts behind and on. It's always been about the lifestyle. Music and fashion are a big part of Slick 50's style and will be an inspiration in the workplace. It's become a community shop where you can purchase from a small selection of vintage apparel, t-shirts, CDs and Slick's own hair product, Sweet Sweet Pomade. If you would like to book a haircut, please call 01702 390 916 or visit barbershoprockabilly.co.uk or Slick 50 Barbershop on Instagram. Gracias.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's radio station, where men really talk.
Phil and I were just saying that last ad, which is, and bless you for advertising with us, we love you. But where was it? Where the hell was that recorded?
Which bathroom was that recorded in?
It was just like, are you down in a coal mine or so? Really, we'd love to read. Please contact us. We'll redo it for you for nothing.
We'll throw down a rope. We'll get you out.
First of all, we'll rescue you from wherever you're trapped. Hope the water isn't rising too high, and then we will come in again. And Phil and I and James, when he's back from taking his handsome lessons wherever he's gone, we'll redo it for you absolutely free of charge, because that's how we are. We're joined now by someone in a suit. So I'm going to tell you, this person's arrived looking so immaculate, I already feel at a huge disadvantage because I wear always my uniform of Doc Martens jeans and a top. There you go. Dr. Amar Khan, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Now, tell us all about yourself, apart from the fabulous suit, and may I say, the handkerchief in the... I can't help it. It's just... It's impressive.
Well, I'm in uniform as well today.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Dr. Amar Khan. I'm a cosmetic physician from Harley Street Skin Clinic.
Right.
My wife and I started the business about 15 years ago, and we have now developed from just being cosmetic medicine through to cosmetic surgery and moving on towards internal medicine and longevity.
Whoa. Right, let's deal with the last part first of all, because suddenly everyone in the room's going, what the hell did he just say? What? Longevity?
You mean you want to drag this on longer?
Oh, absolutely. but in a good way. If we can live to our potential, and if we think about it, animals live 6 times their maturation age. And our maturation age is 22, and we live nowhere near that. So, we have a long way to go to catch up to our animal brethren, if you like, within the animal kingdom.
If I come back, by the way, I want to be a mini schnauzer, because really, being human sucks. I just think being a mini schnauzer would be fantastic. So, all right, so what sort of age, if we get to weight, it's an interesting thing, Dr. Khan, because if you get to 8, somebody dies, a celebrity dies, so-and-so dies in Los Angeles last week, he was 83, and everyone goes, oh, so young. Well, no, he was 83, what do you want him to live to? And I always find that, it's kind of weird. What age are you thinking that we should be going to, and not be suffering? This is the thing that we really
this
want
is
to
the
talk
important
about.
thing. It's not living long at any cost, because, life does have a toll on us. Our environment does, how we eat, how we live, what we do, it all has an effect. But with the evidence now, with more and more research coming out, with gut health, with genomics, which is gene expression, we know that 80% of the outcome is due to our environment and how we live, and 20% to our genetics, because we can change genetic expression. And if we can do that, then we can live better, we can live well, and we can live longer.
You see, one of my problems is, and I speak from bitter personal experience, is that the doctors have this godlike view that whatever the cost, they've got to prolong the life, no matter what the quality. I'm actually talking about my mum, to be honest with you, who had dementia for 16 years of absolute hell for the entire family. She could have been on Pluto for all she knew, and yet they kept insisting, and it's like, well, this is just dreadful. There was nothing of my mother left whatsoever. I've written about it at length, so I'm not talking about something that's new. But I just kept thinking, well, this is just a most terrible, pointless, awful existence. And if she'd have been my mum as she was, she'd have looked at this person and gone, my God, I don't want to be that person. No. So that's the real thing, beef I've got with doctors,
I think you're absolutely right. In that everybody has a time, and when that time comes, and my experience is, I've come through A&E, I've come through ITU. I did a year's anaesthetics and looked after patients on ITU, looked after children. At the end of the day, you could have a child who is slightly ill and you can do everything right and they don't survive, and same with adults. And then you can get another patient where everything goes wrong and still they survive. So though we may think we have the power over life and death, we don't really.
No.
I think we have to be realistic. We have to make sure that people are comfortable and treated with respect. And I think those are the aspects of medicine which we do practice. And hopefully, from your book, that people can learn about dignity and respect. And if somebody is in a situation where they have absolutely no quality of life, then keeping them comfortable is important, giving them as much dignity as possible, and not really intervening with nature too much.
Yeah, do not resuscitate would be things that spring to mind.
It's important we should say that Dev and Prash still join us from the previous hour. Prash, I could see that halfway through that you were sort of shaking your head as if you don't quite agree with something there. So what is it you're itching to tell us?
My eyebrows raised. To Russ's point, notwithstanding what Russ, you just said, people who are ill and, why would they want to live forever? Of course not. I want to throw a tiny curveball into this conversation. The Google exec, Ray Kurzweil, he's famously been publicized as making immortality the next big project for Google, right? The guy's, it's big, it's out there, right? I think he's famous to say, live long enough so you can live forever. And the guy's, on 150 pills. What are your thoughts on that, man?
There is research going on at the moment. There is a genetic condition in certain tribes in America where the actual maturation is stopped. So the aging process is stopped. I think longevity is one thing. Immortality as an individual, is that something that we should really be striving for? Immortality as a race is something different. Immortality for the human race is about, and there was a saying, I think it was on a sci-fi program, which is so true, and that is, if human beings are confined to one planet, we are guaranteed extinction. If we can find one extraterrestrial place, then we are guaranteed immortality. And I think that's something to think about. So I think immortality on an individual basis might be quite selfish. It may not have that much of a meaning. I think talking about making the whole world better and the human race better and safer is something that we should look at.
Can I ask a question, actually? I'm Dev, by the way, so just earlier on the show. You said something there was really fascinating about the tribes, Native American tribes. Where you said that they stopped the maturation process. So what can you tell us?
They don't stop it. There's a genetic defect where they don't mature. So you'll have somebody who looks 9 years of age when they're into their 20s.
Right.
Up to 11, because that's when you start to go through your maturation changes.
Does it ever stop at 24? That you can
no, well, the thing is,
want to be.
Well, the thing is, we've identified the genetic defect, so we can develop a tablet or an enzyme or something that would stop that gene from working at a certain age. So you could
wow.
choose to start taking something at 24,
Right.
34, and stay at that age. And this gives us a number of opportunities. And we were talking about extraterrestrial habitations. It gives us an opportunity to travel from our planet, maybe to the next planet, without going through lots and lots of generations, and to survive to be there.
Wow.
In a good state. However,
How would we do that?
by stopping the aging gene.
So people would live for longer, essentially.
So you'd stop aging. at a
I
certain-
see, because one of the
certain age.
big things I'm always fascinated by sci-fi and the reality of it is that the sheer distances involved mean that you'd set off from Cape Canaveral or whatever it is, and it would be several generations. I mean, many generations later, who would arrive at whatever the nearest habitable place has been identified. I mean, the trip would take thousands and thousands and thousands of years. By which time they may have forgotten their humanity, of course.
They may have done, but can you imagine the boredom?
No, I'd
years
go.
of
I'd
the
go.
same thing,
I'd go.
same routine.
Exactly.
And I think we're back to 8:30 on the Northern Line.
I was going to say, I feel like I've got a rough idea of that, to be honest.
Dr. Khan,
Whoa!
what about the psychology?
My
then? Because
life, not you.
Oh right, okay, fair enough.
there's this focus on the physical longevity of the individual, but you mentioned it there around boredom, which is that the psychology of the individual. If we just have 1,000 years of more suffering, more depression, more anxiety, more craving for something else that's going to make us happy, isn't the focus should be more on enlightenment rather than immortality? Because,
Absolutely.
yeah, or a combination
Well,
of both.
we can look at it from both aspects, can't we? If we have a finite short life, then we're rushing through it, trying to get everything that we can.
Yep.
And the psyche behind that could mean that we're less mindful and thoughtful of the long-term future of our environment. Whereas if we're going to be in that environment for 1,000 years, or as long as we wish, before we stop preventing the aging process and start to age, then we're going to think more long-term about it, and hopefully do something about it. But I think you're absolutely right. It's a conceptual thing, isn't it? We can't start to imagine how we should start to behave and think about living 1,000 years.
When our guest, Lara Asprey, who kicked off the programme at 12 o'clock, and we were talking about looks and superficiality, and then Devon Prash had been in, and the theme, miraculously, as far as I'm concerned, seems to continue. And then, of course, you're dealing with one aspect, let me be clear, is cosmetic surgery. Are we the vainest we've ever been in human history, do you think?
It depends how we define vanity. A lot of our patients who come to see us want to look good for their age. They don't particularly want to look beautiful. They're not competing to do that. There is a section of society who follow the trends, and they look at the media and they want to look like whoever's there. It could be the Kardashians.
Oh,
it could
God,
be,
really?
Whoever.
I was so hoping to get through one show without the K word being mentioned, but never mind.
Well,
Mr. Khan, I'm Dennis, by the way.
Hi,
We've got
Dennis.
another question here from Facebook. This is from Paul Claridge. Can Dr. Khan give me some advice? I'm currently going through chemotherapy, which is affecting the skin on my hands and feet, making them sore and causing blisters to form. I've been prescribed moisturizer, which is helping, but it's not brilliant. Is there anything else I can do to treat the blisters and ease the soreness? I don't know if you could give medical advice.
It's difficult without knowing the specifics of the chemotherapy. A lot of the chemotherapies are designed to slow down cellular turnover, and it doesn't just affect the condition you're treating, it affects the whole body. The whole theory behind it and the science behind it is that normal cells will recover. We talk about high life and low life. Low life cells, if you damage them, they won't recover and they'll die. And we apply this for the treatment of bacteria and single cellular organisms. And tumours behave in a certain way because they're turning over so quickly. They don't develop the defences and the structures in their cell walls that will allow recovery. But your normal cells will. So once the chemotherapy is over, then your cells will recover and get better. Unfortunately, it's a type of chemotherapy that that you're using at the moment, which is causing assault to the cells of your skin. And hopefully when that chemotherapy is over, then your skin will recover.
It's interesting. We had Paul Claridge on the show a couple of weeks back, and I've known him for a number of years, and he's going through this chemotherapy. He looks, he's lost about half his body weight so far, which is just extraordinary. And coming in was both very brave, and a lot of people got a lot out of it who are going through it, and it's great to have experts like you guys. It's also empowering for a lot of people to have those who are going through the process themselves, who are not experts but find themselves at the very unpleasant sharp end of a nasty stick. Yes, inspiring as well. Now, coming back to the cosmetic side of it, you say that people want to look good for their age. Are they, in your opinion, because I find the whole area fascinating, are they realistic? And, you know, some guy walks in, he says, I want to be like George Clooney. I'm picking a name, doesn't really matter who the hell it is. I want to look like David Beckham. Or do they just think, I just want to... Because I was always told with cosmetic surgery, I was going to say cosmetic surgery, it should look like you've been on a great holiday. So someone would say, oh, Russ, you've been away, and you look great. That's all you want, as opposed to, who the hell are you?
Absolutely. And there's been an evolution, hasn't there, within the aesthetic industry for the surgical and non-surgical side of things. And what we've got to remember is, you know, all the great surgeons who operate in this area, all the great doctors who are practicing in this area and working with people's looks, didn't start off like that. Everything we've learned has been outside of the National Health Service. So whenever anybody comes into this arena, they are starting from scratch. They may have some basic knowledge about plastic surgery or, you know, dermatology and how to deal with skins. But the expectations of somebody coming to see me is not the same as the expectation of somebody coming in with a cancer or an injury who wants reconstruction. And their expectations of outcomes are different. So the skills and the techniques we develop have to evolve over time. So there's always this evolution. And, you know, we are getting better at having more natural results. Whereas before it was cut and stretch and lift and tuck. Now there's more of an art behind it.
Because one of the things, I'm going to be really very blunt, you know, sometimes you'll be out at a do and you see someone you've known for a long time, you think, what in the name of God have they done to their fate? And they clearly think they look fabulous, and you're going around thinking, well, you've been to a terrible plastic surgeon, you look ridiculous. You know, I've got to sit next to you at dinner and make polite conversation. You look ludicrous. You're fooling
the worst
nobody.
you could do is sort of say your lips old enough to drink, that kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah. I think there's a loss of perspective as well. You see, I see patients who come to see me, and we do things with them. We make them look better, and, you know, indeed their skin's better. We rejuvenate their skin if it's been photo damaged, and they look fresher and younger. Within sort of 4 to 5 weeks, they've forgotten what they looked like when they first came to see us. And there's this psychology behind it as well, in that we lose our perspective if we change too much. And if somebody's coming in for the wrong reasons, and this is why it's so important to have that consultation beforehand, do a full psychological assessment and evaluation to see where they're coming from, what their expectations are, and whether we can meet those expectations. And, you know, once we establish that, we can work with them. But also, we've got to realise that whereas before this wasn't being done, people were coming in and they thought, I would feel better if I had some filler in my face. So they put filler in their face, they feel better for a short time, but life doesn't change. The reasons that made them feel the way they were haven't been addressed, they haven't changed, so they want a bit more filler and a bit more. And very quickly, they look totally different, and they lose that vision of what they used to look like.
Is it addictive? Because, I mean, there's some people I know, and they just can't stop, and you think, you've got an addiction here. This is ridiculous.
And that's where our responsibilities come in. You know, as doctors, as responsible practitioners, where we have to temper them. We've got to say, hang on a minute, we're going a bit far. And we say no to lots of people.
I was going to ask you, because, you see some horror stories. People want, ridiculous breasts or big bottoms or whatever the hell it might be. And have you ever said, I'm very sorry, you've come to the wrong place. I'm not prepared to do that.
We've not done surgery on a lot of people. We've not done treatments on lots of people. However, we have to be very careful. You see, as soon as anybody walks into a doctor-patient relationship, that is exactly what it is. We have responsibilities, and we have a duty of care to that person.
Yeah.
I had a patient, for example, come in, they were anorexic, and we sat down, we talked about them, and they wanted more fat removal. It would have been easy to say, just go away, we're not going to do this. This is ridiculous, go away. But that would have done that person more harm than good. And because we took a full history, we recognized that there was a problem. And what we said to the patient was, and what we did was, we managed that patient. Because had we sent them away, they would have gone somewhere else. They would have gone somewhere else, and eventually got it done.
Does society have a lot to answer for? Or, I'm not being horrible when I say this, but are you quite grateful that society does apply such pressure? Because to some degree, the more pressure that we feel and the more inclined someone is to go and get help along the lines that you can offer as a cosmetic surgeon. Do you think society has a lot to answer for, or is it technically your bread and butter and therefore you have to be thankful that society is the way it is?
And also, to follow up on that question, I'm just curious about the demographics, so the age group specifically, of those who avail your service, because what Phil said, we're talking about pressure, younger people, they're more obsessed in social media, and you see these altered versions of your face. So I'm just curious, does that affect the age group that avail your service?
Well, we've been around a fair amount of time. We've got over 35,000 patients now, so we do analyse the demographics and the cohorts. And when we look at 10-year cohorts, there are roughly the same numbers of people in each of those, but what they're asking for is different. And you'd expect that from an age perspective anyway, but things are changing, and you're absolutely right, because people come in and they show you a picture which is a Photoshop picture on their social media. They've taken it on their phone, which has been changed and altered to look softer, and they want to look like that. And they're communicating through their social media as well. So the first time somebody sees you face to face, there is almost a realization that's not the person on here.
Who are you?
So therefore, do you despair then at what society is doing to itself?
There are lots of reasons why this is happening. I don't despair. We recognise, and I've written a book called Turn Back Time, which is really an overview of how we can improve our health, and it covers different aspects. It covers, all the way back to how we're growing up. I mean, one of the chapters I talk about obesity, and when children have a high calorific diet up to the age of 11, they actually produce more fat cells genetically, whereas. And then they're more likely to become obese with even normal diets later on, because they've already piled these on.
So it's pre-programmed
because of the genomic effect.
That's amazing.
So we also talk about the actual way that we're educated, and we talk about social media on that. Recreation, how we recreate ourselves. How we relax and rebuild our bodies, and it's totally different now. People don't go out and play. They don't socialise in the same way. They don't communicate in the same way. And this trend isn't just society. This is how the companies are pushing us as well.
Yeah, and if I could just share, because when I was in my 20s, I was still in the Philippines. I used to take whitening pills because I really want to be white, and I used to wear brown contact lens. And it's really because of the pressure that you see. There was no social media when I was growing up. I'm 37, by the way. way.
That was Dennis just smashing the table.
Sorry.
I was wondering what it was.
I
Sorry,
agree
you're
with
37.
I thought you were like,
He looks amazing, doesn't he?
Gracious me.
You don't need to come to me
I
yet.
was going to say, Dr. Khan, you've worked wonders.
I was going to say.
No genetics.
And everyone in the room hates you, Dennis. I think you should know that.
No, but it's so true. Every genetic is different. We have prejudices, and prejudices are very old. They come before social media, and it's fascinating. We all have our prejudices. We may change our behaviours to control them and not to express them, but the brain is set up in a certain way that there are prejudices. There are certain things you like immediately, certain things you don't like and you turn away from. And this is all about sort of the subconscious and the psychology. And this whitening for dark skins, darkening for white skins.
I'm stunned. When did you stop? I'm not being rude. When did you stop doing that? Didn't even know there was such a thing.
I remember taking it when I was from 20 to 25, and I just stopped because it's just costing me money, and my skin is still brown.
Did you keep the receipt?
Refund.
But there's an area for exploitation right across the board here, and it goes from skin whitening, skin darkening. There was an injection that people used to take to get a tan, melanotan, and all it did was it made them horny and vomit, and that was and then they did.
So it's not all bad. Then. Right, you got a quick question before we go up.
Just quick add here, and we do this. There's a phrase in psychology, applied psychology, and we talk about it on our mantra therapy retreats all the time. Hedonic adaptation. The tendency, and to Phil's point, is it society, is it the individual? Hey, it's a human being thing, man. Every human being has a tendency towards hedonic adaptation. The need to want to get the unfortunate tendency to get used to stuff when it's really good, and then really good is now just boring, and you just want more. You want more, and hedonic adaptation therefore compels people to feel dissatisfied with something that they previously aspired for. Now they just want more and more and more. Yeah. So you get this dissatisfaction syndrome going on.
Yeah, and a lot of it is around material goods, and at the end of the day, that's not what's important. Mm-hmm. People they accumulate material goods, and then where do you go from there? There is no real satisfaction in that.
In my case, to a Shergard lockup. That's where all mine is. Right, we'll be continuing. This conversation is dazzling, and now time to pay the rent.
You're listening to
Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of Started Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. For the past 60 years, we've been providing the world's best Cuban cigars. When it comes to cigars, there's no other than Started Cigars from Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Starters would like to wish Men's Radio Station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being. Check them out. Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Your call is important to us. You are now number 15 in a queue.
At Profile Insurance Services, we treat people as individuals. You'll speak to a real person, not a call centre. We're fast, small, independent, and have a superb team of insurance specialists. And they're really nice too. Advice is totally free and we cover everything. Call 0208 931 3306. Listeners to Men's Radio Station won't pay a penny for admin fees. That's 0208 931 3306. With Profile Insurance Services, you're covered.
Let me tell you about Jermyn Street Theatre. We are the smallest theatre in the West End, only 70 seats. We are a registered charity and not grant-aided, run by a small team of volunteers and trustees. Jermyn Street Theatre is a hidden gem. It combines the comfort and convenience of the West End with the intimacy of a studio. Every seat has a perfect view of the stage, and even a whisper is audible. Every seat is a premium seat. This is a secret theatre in the heart of the West End, once found, never forgotten.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's Radio Station, where men really talk.
Hello, I'm Lawrence Davis. I'm the proud owner of Started Cigars in Mayfair and Knightsbridge. We at Sousers would like to wish men's radio station every support in their task for helping men's emotional and mental well-being.
Slick 50 Barbershop is a kitsch barbers based in West Lothian, Essex, specialising in retro haircuts, behind and on. It's always been about the lifestyle. Music and fashion are a big part of Slick 50's style, and an obvious inspiration in the workplace. It's become a community shop where you can purchase from a small selection of vintage apparel, t-shirts, CDs, and Slick's own hair product, Toot Sweet Pomade. If you would like to book a haircut, please call 01702 390 916 or visit barbershoprockabilly.co.uk or Slick 50 Barbershop on Instagram. Gracias.
You're listening to Russ Kane on
Men's radio station where men really talk.
Coming at you live from Central London in Covent Garden, as a matter of fact. Right, if you want to talk to us, it's 0203 290 4411. It's 0203 290 4411. I almost sang that, which would have, of course, crashed everything. And my special guest is Dr. Amar Khan, who is from Harley Street Skin. Fascinating conversation. I couldn't help noticing we both had the same. I published a book sometime, got another book coming at the end of next month. But my John Blake. That was the same publisher as yes. I loved Flaky Blakey. I used to love him. He was just a terrific guy. So it's interesting. Before we get back to plastic surgery, you do a lot of work with troops who have been injured in these endless wars we seem to get involved in.
We do, yes, and this started. I mean, my family has a military background,
right.
And my great grandfather was Hudaydah Khan, who was the first Muslim VC, and I've always had an empathy towards the military.
Yeah.
I decided to do medicine without joining the military because I wanted that freedom to develop what I wanted to develop. However, I was approached by the troops to be in the military and go through medicine as a soldier.
Right.
But I've come back to it now, and this started in 2012 when a young soldier came to our clinic, and his girlfriend had bought him a treatment for scarring. He'd been blown up. He was the youngest soldier to have been blown up and lost and be a double amputee. He'd lost his fingers, part of his nose, and he had severe scarring because he stood on a mine and it blew upwards. So he had terrible scarring of his neck and face, and he just wanted to improve the way he looked. And he came into the clinic, and Leslie and I, my wife and I, and it's our clinic, and we decided that we were going to work with them, and we decided to do some treatment and start working with them. And as we did that, we got to know them more and more and what their requirements really were. Yeah. And then we got involved with supporting him and a couple of his comrades in their sport, and they used to drive, and they were really into driving because these young boys, they were action men, the girls were action women. When they went into the military, they were very young, and because they were blown up and they couldn't do the things that they could, doesn't stop them from being that person. And we got involved with that.
A lot of people forget that, don't they? Of course, that is who they are. That's why they wanted to do it in the first place.
Yeah. And then we realised that there were other things as well, that they needed adaptations at home. And we spoke with a lot of our friends and our clients. And it was incredible. It was really humbling how people were willing to help and give of their time, of their businesses, to help the soldiers to get back on track. And we then decided to set up a charity which would support them in physical and psychological health, mental health, and rehabilitation. So we set up the charity, which was inaugurated last year.
And what's it called?
It's called Back on Track.
Right. It's interesting. It took the Americans to take the lead with this because last time I was there, people would go up to someone in uniform and go, "Thank you for your service." And over here, that seemed horribly corny and very unnatural. And in America, which I know I bang on about a lot, but with reason, it seemed normal. And I think now we are. far more grateful of what we ask our armed services to do. Because sure as hell, Phil and I couldn't do it. Dennis is unlikely to do it. Don't know. I couldn't do it. I'd be terrified. And these guys, I spent a lot of time with the Soldiers' Charity, which was previously called the Army Benevolent Fund, and then the Lord Mayor's a big curry lunch, which I sat on the original committee for 6 years. So it meant a lot to me. But these guys, the most humble, they're doing acts. I mean, there's your great-grandfather who gets the VC, and he probably was just thinking, well, I'm just doing what I've been trained to do, and yet the rest of the family going, wow. And then these guys do extraordinary acts of bravery, and they just, I just happen to be there.
Job. Yeah.
It's just my job. They're so matter-of-fact about it. It's an extraordinary thing.
And we do get this, and a lot of soldiers, we sort of talk about them, and, that they're heroes, and they're like, we're not heroes. We were just doing our job.
But they are to us. Of course they are. Because we could not do that. The thought of, coming under enemy fire, although live radio is, not without its dangers, but that is just, you can't imagine it. Well, you can imagine it, you just don't want to imagine it, can you?
We thought we would be contributing towards plastic surgery and getting them to look better once the NHS had completed their reconstruction. But what we're finding is more and more that they need psychological support.
Yes.
And it's combat trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder that are the big conditions that are affecting them. And to get them back on track with their lives, we have to address that.
Interestingly, and it was only through my work with the Soldiers' Charity, that I found out that post-traumatic stress syndrome often doesn't manifest itself till about 14 to 16 years later, which, when you think about it, it's an absolute time bomb in somebody who thinks their life is normal, and suddenly everything gets incredibly wobbly.
The other thing is that they're in that danger group, aren't they? A lot of men and women under the age of 40. The biggest killer for people under the age of 40 is suicide.
Yes, indeed.
And when it hits them, and these are soldiers, don't forget, they know how to do it properly.
Yeah.
They have the skills and the knowledge to go out and do it. And we've got to be really aware of this. They are high risk.
Isn't it interesting, Dr. Khan, that you've come to one of the key factors that Howard Jameson and I started all of this, because we saw the suicide figures. 80 in the UK, 80%, and I bang on and I will bang on about it, 80% men, 20% women. You think, well, you don't have to be a genius to work out there is something radically wrong here, something very, very bad.
I think there's it's a behavioural trend as well. Men are less likely to seek advice and help from their doctors.
There you go.
And I think, this is... And it's so important to reach out to men who are suffering in silence, not just with psychological problems, but with physical health as well. And one of the things I really do want to write about, and the book I wrote was about general good health and giving advice. It's like a manual to good health. What I want to write about are the changes. We hear a lot about the menopause, and I advise on various menopause groups, but the other side of the coin is the male hormonal changes that occur, the menopause, and I want to put something together from that perspective, because
people
a lot of men
never talk about that, because obviously as we get older we see our partners or wives or relatives going through the menopause, and they are going, it ain't pretty, let's not kid ourselves, and then you think, well, we're lucky, we're guys, we're not going to go through that. And yet people have said to me in the past, there's a male menopause, and I kind of look at them quizzically. But I'm beginning to believe that
they do actually nickname it the manopause, don't they?
That's right.
So it is. I know it is a thing, but I don't know whether or not I'm educated enough to know actually what to expect, because I don't think anyone talks about it.
Most men aren't, but they go through the changes and they don't understand. And we call it the midlife crisis. We could call it depression. Men are going through these changes which are affecting them physically, affecting them psychologically, with depression as well, because hormonal changes do affect the neurotransmitters, and they're going through this, and nobody talks about it.
But is it true that we go through various stages of our lives anyway. So it's not just because you've reached, mid to late 40s, 50s, whatever it is. Actually, at every single step. Because I actually now feel differently in myself. Now that I'm in my 30s, I do genuinely feel different to when I was in teens and 20s.
Want to swap?
Absolutely. But you know,
it's not a competition, but I'm being serious. I do genuinely feel that.
Of course, you do.
So.
But you know, one of the hard things is, and I'll speak personally, is that you know you get to a certain age and your body, like I'm running around the tubes, I'm running up and down, I'm going, Jesus, it's killing me, right? But you're angry with yourself at the same time because you think, no, I'm Russell and I'm still 27. And I'm going, no, you're not.
And this is a mistake as well, because as we get older, because of genetic change, and you know, and by all means, Russell, come in, have a genetic test. We'll look at you and we'll get you feeling like a 30-year-old again.
Are you open at 4 o'clock today? Because I could.
It's not an emergency.
Hey, maybe there you go. There's a feature that you'd never hear on the BBC: a genetic test live on air.
Right.
It's an outside broadcast waiting to happen for the men's radio
Phil,
station.
do that.
Phil, rearrange his phrase. Shut up. I'm so going to be so embarrassed if I did. It's really actually that's fascinating.
But what we do is we behave like 20-year-olds, and our bodies have changed. But if we behaved like 40 or 50-year-olds and we exercise in a certain way, and again I touch upon this in the book, we have to change the way we approach what we eat, how we exercise, and if we do that, we can still feel as good as we did then and look as good.
But I'm never going to. Let's be serious. You're never going to look in 50 plus like you did when you were 25. It's impossible.
But we don't have to carry that excess weight. We don't have to lose that central muscle mass, particularly around the shoulder girdles and around the pelvis, which we do as we get older. And there are certain exercises which help with that.
It is a battle, though. It really is a battle because, I mean, I know that, thank heavens, I'm suddenly busier than ever, and there's a load of projects, not just men's radio station, which is like one of the most exciting things, how I always say, like we've ever done. But, you know, there's lots of other things, and you just want the energy and the strength to do it all, and you get tired. You can't help it.
Come and see me.
I will. I'd be too scared to say. Actually, you're 97. Dennis, you got something for me?
Yeah, we've got a comment from Tony. You were talking about menopause earlier. Tony says, "I feel your pain, Russ. I've been going through the menopause for many years, and I know this because my wife told me." So you probably don't know that you're experiencing menopause, but other people will tell you that you have it.
Absolutely. And
trying to work out whether or not there's a little bit of humour going on in Tony's post there, but even so, let's assume he's serious.
We don't know.
But we can see it. We can see it, can't we? As the hormones change, you know, we move towards the grey. And I think society likes to be in the middle, doesn't it? But we are actually physiologically doing that. Women start to develop coarser features, they start to lose their colour, their pinkness, and they start to look more like men. And men do the opposite. They lose their testosterone, their estrogen levels go up, and we start to feminize. So there's this movement towards the grey, and that's the general menopause.
My friend Larry told me a phrase a couple of years back. He said, "You know what? You get to a certain point in life, you're invisible."
Yeah.
When we were kids, we'd walk down the street and hey, we were the guys, and girls would turn around and we'd look at them, and it was all happening. And now you can walk into a shop and it's like, what the hell? Has my molecular structure rearranged itself? You actually can't see me anymore. What's going on? And it's infuriating. It is infuriating.
It can be. But also, we're living in different worlds. How we were brought up and how the youngsters, the millennials, are now being brought up with technology and with, how they communicate, they actually don't have the same situational awareness as we used to have. Because they're not looking around.
At all. And something, Dr. Cullen, there's a theme which has come up. As I said, we've only been going, Howard and I, six weeks with Phil. And one of the things, and I'm sure, Phil, you've noticed, and Dennis, who looks after all our social media brilliantly, may I say. I'd love you more if you stopped hitting the table during the show. But apart from that, I mean, you'd be my favourite guy.
Now look, this is Dennis's debut. Don't be hot.
Oh no, I'm not. Bless you for coming in all the way from the Philippines today, Dennis. Thank you.
Not just from rain, I mean.
No, come on, I was bigging it up.
Can you hear it from my accent? I've got a thick Essex accent.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's why I wondered what it was. I never thought about it. It's raining accent. Silly me. what I was just to say, and it's interesting because Dennis is right in the heart of the social media because he's a social media wizard. It hasn't helped at all. The technology that we, when you were looking as a little boy at Raymond Baxter on Tomorrow's World, and we're going to have flying cars, and it was all going to be great. It hasn't really made life any more pleasant. It makes things a bit quicker. That's what it is. It has. I always think, when the Matrix film came out, Dr. Khan, people are going, how ridiculous. And if you sit on the train in the morning, you think, this is the Matrix. All that's missing is the plug going into the back of the person's neck.
Well, we can look at it from the other side of the coin as well. Is this how we're evolving? Is this where we're heading?
Or dissolving, frankly. I mean, the problem is that it's all quite Stepford. If you look sort of more like the Stepford wives, and everyone sort of follows a certain pattern and follows a certain way of behaving and a way of thinking and speaking, it's ultimately what's happening to society.
It is, but we were heading that way politically anyway, weren't we? Political correctness, not expressing ourselves in a certain way.
Not allowed to.
Yeah, not allowed to. Oh, and where the majority then becomes the minority.
But that has happened. There's so many issues which I won't, some of which are absolutely send me off the deep end.
We also have body positivity. Like, I've got a strong opinion about it. Like, people are glamorizing obesity. It's quite debatable, but. Yeah.
Well, obesity is, it's an interesting topic and maybe a topic for another show.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I think that's because the whole show in itself.
It is a complete show in itself. But it's so Phil just talked about the Stepford wives, which brings us neatly back to cosmetic surgery. Is it just that men and women, I'm not picking on women at all in this statement, but when you look on social media and see these twerps pouting like crazy, you think, you all look exactly the same. Is there a factory here that's just churning you out? Because you all look. Where's the individuality? It's amazing.
Yeah. It's not necessarily cosmetic surgery that does that. It's the way that they pose.
Yeah, but some of them. I mean, you can see that a load of them, and they're much too young to have it. With respect, they've done the Botox route, and you're going, why are you having Botox? You're 22 years old. What the hell's the matter with you? What are you going to do when you're 32 years old?
Again, certainly with fillers, people coming in because they want lips like somebody else, and it's important again to go to some and these services are now being offered at the hairdressers, at the salon, at the beauticians.
Yes, this is what's so wrong when it's yourself on Harley Street, and you've already said you went right through the proper medical ranks, no pun intended, with your army background. All of it, you're fully qualified and you make proper decisions. When you say, let's have a Botox party, I want to scream at these people. I mean, just how stupid are you?
It's trivialization of medical treatment, and there are risks. With fillers particularly because they're not prescribed and they're not regulated at the moment, and we're working hard to try and get them regulated.
How long before you think regulations come? Because it is madness, really. People running around with hypodermics.
The question is, how many more cases of blindness are we going to tolerate before regulation comes?
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's one of the risks of fillers.
Oh my God.
And you don't get that with Botox.
Why is that?
It's because of intravascular injections. The face is very vascular.
Right.
If you're not aware of the anatomy and you inject into a blood vessel, and there are no valves and disconnects in the face. All the blood vessels are interconnected, so it can go from the corner of the mouth all the way around to the vessel that's supplying the ophthalmic nerve, and it can kill the ophthalmic nerve. God. And that is irreversible.
Phil's face is a picture at the moment. He's hiding behind his hands.
I had absolutely no idea, and it's actually sort of really shocked me because I had no idea. Obviously, I knew there were risks involved with all surgeries, cosmetic or, but essential. But just knowing that, I actually wonder where the education is. Why don't we know that? Why is it not more common knowledge that can happen if you have these fillers?
And when we consent people, we go through everything. It's full disclosure. This can happen. And people ask, how many have you had it happen to? And thankfully not, because we know the anatomy. We're very careful, and we use techniques which we know are going to be safer, but you can't guarantee 100% safety,
No.
with any procedure. So always, whenever you do cosmetic surgery, one of the options is do nothing, because of the risks, because of the lack of guarantees. And, that sort of approach should be right across the board with everybody who's providing these services.
It is amazing, but everything is so, in 2019, God, I sound like a very old man, but it's the truth that everything is trivialized and everything has been brought down to the lowest sort of common denominator. And I'm going to say this, you've got geniuses like Torvald and Dean who worked from children to be perfect within their craft, having to judge a show which becomes, and I won't watch it, which a travesty. And you can say, oh, Russ, it's just a show. Yeah, but it's not. It's the thing that the people who've tried, like you are fully trained, like they are trained and dedicated, like you've dedicated their life, your life. I find it disturbing, but it is the way of the world, and I'm a kind of lone voice in that.
Yeah, and a lot of what we do is medicine as well, because my background's in medicine.
Yeah.
When we see people, we're not just looking at their aesthetics, we're looking at how they walk, whether there are conditions. And, in our clinical practice, we pick up lots of medical conditions and send them back to their GPs with a specific direction for their GPs to look at. And patients are coming back and saying, thank you for highlighting this. I'm getting treatment now. And, things are much better.
Now, in the great scheme of life where there's no such thing as a free lunch, here's my question to you, Dr. Khan, as you're sitting opposite me, and it's a Sunday, and I feel the surgery is open. Right. Turmeric, any good for my knees, or am I kidding myself?
Turmeric is very good. Okay.
Thank you.
However...
But what are you doing with it?
However...
I'll look at the bottle.
It's fat soluble. So unless it is combined with fats, you're not going to absorb very much of it. And knowing that, again, because I come from a medical science background, it's something that I look at. Turmeric will help. You're better off having it in your food or mixing it with milk, full fat milk or some butter, because you're not going to absorb very much of it. Its bioavailability is increased by 2,000 times if you mix it with pepper, bioperine, or piperine.
Really?
But 2,000 times a minuscule amount is still a minuscule amount.
Yeah.
So by understanding now a little bit about how turmeric can be used, you could possibly take it with milk or with,
Sounds. I have enough trouble taking the pills, to be honest. No, I seriously, I do, because they're pretty strong. They smell pretty strong, and I think it's helping a bit.
It does help a bit.
It's me running up and down the stairs on the tube. It's nothing more dramatic than that. I don't want to do the marathon, God forbid. I just want to get up the stairs on the tube.
There are other things as well. Omega acids, eating oily fish.
Oh, yeah, do that.
Having a good healthy diet with antioxidants.
Do that.
And there are specific foods which are particularly good for wear and tear. And exercise. We used to think that running was bad for your knees. Now there's evidence to show that running is good for your knees. It regenerates the
It's good for your knees.
Cartilage, yes, but not running down hills. Gentle run up an incline. It takes the pressure off the actual joint, and it gives you that impact exercise, which helps to increase.
How interesting! Because in all seriousness, I know Phil's about to say, yeah, like you were going to do it. I was thinking about running, and I thought, no, if I screw up my knees anymore, I'm going to be, it's going to be.
But then again,
look, I have utter admiration. I get out of breath running a bath, never mind a marathon, so don't worry about it. Absolutely,
has to be done. And also, when very, very quickly, fad diets, terrible thing, or do it in small little bits, or avoid.
Again, it's covered in the book. It's not a good thing.
Hoping,
yes, it's not necessarily a good thing. There is evidence if you yo-yo quite significantly with your weight and fadding on diets, you're nutritionally depriving yourself, and that can shorten your life.
Oh my God.
What about those slimming belts? Do they help? slimming belt. So put on around your waist. You see that allowing you
the electronic ones.
Yeah.
That stimulate your muscles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose they're increasing your metabolism a little bit, so you're burning more energy whilst you're sitting down.
Dr. Khan, if people want to get hold of you, how do they do that?
I can give you the clinic's telephone number.
Whatever, the floor is yours. Right. Whatever you want to...
The clinic is 48 Harley Street, W1G 9PU, and the telephone number there is 0207 436 4441.
Marvelous.
I'm writing it down.
He's gone. I was going to say, what are you doing there?
I'm writing the whole thing down. 0207 436 4411. Is that correct? Have I got it right?
No.
This is why I'm an idiot. Yeah.
441.
Oh God.
So 4441.
God, I must have got hold of Quick-Fit. That's why I'm not.
And of course, they can go on Harley Street Skin, www.harleystreetskinclinic.com.
Harley Street skinclinic.com. Dr. Armakhan, thank you so much. Thank you for looking so dapper. I feel like a complete scruff bag. Phil looks okay. Dennis always looks smart. That's all the time. I can't believe it. 3 hours have just flown by. Fantastic guests. Thank you for everybody who came in. It was terrific. Thank you, of course, to Phil Dave and to Dennis.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
That's it.